Stationeers is not a game like any other. You may have heard this before, fanboys praising their favorite thing beyond reason. But please, consider the voices of connoisseurs of a physics-based reality simulation to be a bit more relevant than the usual hullabaloo. Here, take a look at what it has to offer. If you already know this trailer, maybe you want to skip ahead by 6 minutes. Stationeers, your own deeply simulated planetary survival station. Where the atmosphere in your base and in your spacesuit is a gas mixture that you have to keep under control. With temperature and pressure and even phase change simulation. With evaporation cooling and condensation heating. And all this in a beautifully realized planetary environment.
Malfunction detected.
Where you can even choose to automate things in any way you like. By using various kinds of logic chips, or if you want to go that deep, with the Stationeers assembly language in a built-in code editor that has searchable documentation, just like the Stationpedia. Stationeers has competent and professional tutorial training courses for individual topics.
Suit damage.
Instead of in-game handholding. All key engineering matters are covered, but due to the early access nature of Stationeers, you currently have to use Steam's convenient features and use an earlier version of the game to access the tutorials. Make no mistake, this is not a casual game. You will need to learn, but the rewarding experiences of Stationeers are beyond anything you have ever seen, guaranteed. You can play on multiple worlds, each bringing their own challenges that are purely emergent from Stationeers' deep simulation engine. There's of course the moon, without any atmosphere whatsoever. Certainly the right training ground for beginners. But take care not to waste your gases. Then there's Mars, the red planet, mankind's first step in becoming an interplanetary species. Our home away from home. With very thin atmosphere whose composition is ideal for greenhouse purposes. Much different from Europa's atmosphere. On this very cold moon of Jupiter, we only find oxygen. Mimas, a moon of Saturn, has no atmosphere, just like our own moon. Due to its large distance to the Sun, and obviously no wind, electricity is a major concern. The Sun is stronger in the asteroid belt, but mining for the desperately needed resources is tricky. Vulcan's light source, apart from oceans of lava, is the accretion disk of the black hole it's orbiting. The atmosphere is extremely hot and explosive. Venus is almost impossible to survive, with its unrelenting heat and a pressure too high for standard airlock equipment. Like Vulcan, there are no ice resources to be found, so there is no way around establishing a trading spaceport. So, if you finally want to experience yourself in a deep first-person reality simulation, where you could even be an alien taking a shower that cleans you while producing polluted water that you'll have to deal with, where you could engineer your own emergent cooling solution instead of relying on the boring old AC, or heating for that matter, or custom-built super-fast airlocks. Or industrial-scale gas processing facilities, where everything around you is a real piece of equipment that you can engineer and control and even automate. Where the flourishing of your space greenhouse is a matter of complex parameters that you have to keep in balance. where the furnace is not just a recipe machine, but a complex device that can heat up the room, which may be desired, or that may actually blow up in your face.
Cognition critical.
And if you want to have the support available of a sophisticated and friendly Discord community, where you can even meet the developer team itself, then do yourself the huge favor and invest what amounts to about 3 pizzas in this immersive engineering and space simulation journey of a lifetime, years ahead of what is otherwise available. Stationeers. You see, Stationeers is special. Very technical, very complex, deeply simulated. Don't be deceived by the cutesy cartoony look of the character design, or any plastic gadgety feel of in-game objects. Despite its complexity and apart from the high entry barrier, Stationeers is very intuitive and immersive. It's not one of those games that simulate a space shuttle cockpit with a million switches and abbreviated labels. You will be having a first-person base building experience and survival of a quality you have never dreamt of. So, assuming you'll make the very wise decision to pay what amounts to about 3 pizzas for the most rewarding first-person reality simulation you've ever seen, how do you get into it? How do you pass the high entry barrier? You could do it old school and run the tutorial training courses a few times, which, as you can see, are not available anymore for current versions of Stationeers. But you can easily temporarily change to an older version of Stationeers to play the tutorials indeed. Pre-phase change. And here we go. Now they work. And they're well done, they're really worth your time. But let's try to cope with Stationeers as it currently is. It's not just one of the best games in existence, it's also a golden example of how to do early access. The developers are very approachable on Discord, and there's an official update about once a month. But you can also play the beta version in the same way I showed earlier, which I in fact have been doing for half a year now, so I get multiple updates per week. That's how actively this is being developed. Now let's finally play this profound planetary base builder, the deepest astronaut reality simulator available today. As you can see, it comes with multiple moons and planets, and more will be available via the Steam workshop since the game has been developed from the start with modding in mind. A beginner should play Mars or Earth's moon, since these are the most convenient worlds. On Mars, like on all other worlds with atmosphere and Stationeers, you will have to put up with storms every few days, starting day 7. Storms will damage and blow away loose items, including your lander module. They also hurt the less sophisticated kinds of solar panels if you don't stuff them in the glass box. On the other hand, there's wind, particularly during storms. That's energy you can harness. And atmosphere is always good to have. For example, you could convert Mars carbon dioxide to breathable air via plants, which double as a food source. The moon has no atmosphere and thus no storms, or wind energy. But you have about double the solar energy than on Mars, and during nights the ambient light is a bit brighter, though you'll probably have your helmet lights on most of the time anyway, since Stationeers shadow rendering is a bit harsh, so that you bother to put up some electric lights which greatly contribute to the mood. Let's play Moon, since the grey ball of dust is surely closest to our hearts. Now we are presented with 4 difficulty options. Well, a bit more in my case, since it's easy to mod in additional ones. Anyway, it's actually 3. The 4th one, Creative, lets you miss out on a significant amount of survival mechanics. I must say though, I've come to appreciate horsing around in Creative to engineer ridiculous things I'd otherwise not have the patience to build or mine for, and it's also great for experimenting with the many available devices and mechanics. Spoiler alert, do not play Creative unless you have experienced Stationeers survival for a few dozen hours, else you may lose respect for the reality of the simulation. Anyway, let's play easy now. You want to learn how to become a Stationeer? This is how you do it. Now we have the choice of starting gear. Brutal Start is not for us because it only has minimal things to survive. In Standard Start we have quite a lot of stuff. You can unfold that here and unfold it further, but let's just get into it. The lander capsule. This is live. We're on the moon now. Maybe you saw shortly at the right top there was the hint that pressing Q would get us out of the seat, but you can also just use WASD to walk around and get out of the seat. That also works. Pointing the mouse is for looking, space is for jumping, and while we're at it, you can also fly. J is for jetpack. So with the jump key you fly higher, and with control you fly lower. Or you just turn the jetpack off. On the moon it's unlikely that you can fall so far or so fast that you will hurt yourself, but something to keep in mind. Also, you should press L to turn off the light, because it consumes a significant amount of electricity. You can see here that the sun is in motion. A day in Stationeers always lasts 20 minutes, but eventually that will be adjustable. We have already seen developments on that front in the works, but you can also use the console and just halt the planetary time. This is not something I recommend for beginners. I'm just, I wanted to do it here because due to my cuts, you would see the sun jump around the whole time, and I just want to keep the day constant for now. So you can see we have a crosshair, the little dot in the middle, and you can see we get these click boxes that tells us pretty clearly what we can do. Left mouse button. You can see that also in the tooltip. The tooltips are very valuable, very helpful. You should always read them as a beginner. They really put a lot of effort into them. They're even dynamic. They adapt to the situation. Let's look at the user interface. On the left side, we have the inventory. It is something that you can unfold by pressing the numeric keys, but there are also other ways to do it. I just wanted to show it for a moment. On the right side, we see some situational data. For example, we see the pressure that our spacesuit is set to achieve, 101 kilopascals. That's Earth sea level pressure. And it currently has a pressure of 97 kilopascals. The target temperature is 20 degrees. We can see how much thrust our jetpack has. You can see that it's decreasing because we have a jetpack canister. You can see that here on the left. See, it's decreasing. And you also have a compass. A compass is very important for navigating, but there are other ways to navigate. Just saying, it's really a primary thing you will use in the beginning a lot. Below that we can see our speed, and on the left you see vitals, because you need to eat and drink. Then at the left top, easily overlooked, F1. Let's press that. Oh, Look at this. An actual reference with hyperlinks. Now that will come in handy. It will. But it's not for now. What is for now that we finally become active, and for that we will need our hands. We can see at the bottom there's a tooltip, so to speak. You see the little E down there, which means swap hands. Every hand at the every hand, you have two hands, the left hand and the right hand, and they're both the same functionality-wise. Only one of them can be the active hand, and so press E to select which hand shall be active. Now that I have something in my active hand, by swapping to one that has something, you can see more such information. For example, T, what is that? A circle with an arrow pointing down. Well, this is for placing things down carefully. And with Q, you can throw. Oh. Or throw more weakly. And with the right mouse button, you can use this thing. But this doesn't do anything right now because, well, this would be useful if our spacesuit was damaged. Then we would wrap ourselves in that stuff, duct tape, to repair it, so we would no longer be leaking air. Inventory handling is one of the most important things to understand. And before I show you the various ways of doing this, let's learn the most important one that is most intuitive and will immediately give you a vast access to this game. Press left Alt. See, now we have a mouse pointer. And we can just access these things directly with the mouse, which makes it very, very convenient. Return to origin. Okay. For example, we have a spacesuit, yes? Let's open the helmet. Oh, we can't. Let's unlock the helmet.
Pressure critical.
Whoops.
Oxygen critical.
Let's close it again. Yeah, not something you want to do. So again, here you open the helmet, here you unlock or lock it. I never use, so just unlock it and that's it then. And then I press I
Pressure critical.
to open and close the helmet, which you can of course look up in the settings. But there's more parts to the spacesuit, so look here. Here you can adjust the pressure that it shall use. We can easily survive down to like 20 kilopascals as long as the atmosphere is pure oxygen, which it is. It says here oxygen canister, but that's just a name. We can name our objects ourselves, and I could, for example, call this oxygen canister a cyanide canister. It wouldn't do anything. So how do we know what's actually in there? Well, look here, in the backpack, we have some, basically just some inventory space. We can drag and drop stuff around. Only this
Jetpack critical.
is a bit different. This slot is for the propellant for our jetpack. And I could also just use my air tank here.
Air tank critical.
Yep, you can fly with your air tank if you wish. It's just gas, the game doesn't care.
Jetpack critical.
But let's not waste the oxygen. And then here we have one of the most important items in the game, which you can also create later. It's not like when you lose this, you're lost. No. The handheld tablet. And now behold, when I click here, you get another inventory. So we have nested inventories here. For example, the mining belt here, which has the hand drill, the mining drill, which also has another inventory. Anyway, here you have the handheld tablet. You can also put that here. This will close this window. And we have two slots, the battery and the cartridge. Cartridge is like the motherboard. Let's put in the Atmos analyzer. And then press the right mouse button. You can see, you can press O. Doesn't do anything, probably because the battery is missing. Yep. All right mouse button is much more convenient. And let's look around. We can see here, pressure not available, there's no atmosphere. Liquid not available. Capacity 4,700. 4,039. What does this mean? Well, the world is invisibly divided into little boxes, and they have 8,000 liters capacity. And so depending on where I stand on the diagonal and shapely landscape, this will then show me a different capacity for the current box I'm standing in, because the ground takes something away. It's not something that you need to know. I'm just trying to explain some mechanics that exist here. So let's toss down the propellant.
Jetpack critical.
I just dragged and dropped that directly from the inventory into the world. The opposite is also possible. So you can see really the most important thing you need to know about inventory handling is press Alt so that you get the mouse pointer. This opens the entire game up to you.
Jetpack critical.
Oh, that was not supposed to happen. So let's toss that down, pick that up, press Q, and pop. So we can see here now, this thing has 5.64 megapascals pressure, which is about 50 times our suit pressure, 100 kilopascals, 1000 kilopascals, 1000 kilopascal is 1 megapascal, 5 megapascals is therefore 50 times this. Liquid, there's none in there. Capacity of this thing, 64 liter. Let's imagine this thing would magically suddenly only have a capacity of 32 liters. What would that mean? It would mean that the pressure would suddenly double. This doesn't happen. I'm just trying to explain how things work in this game, like they work in reality. You can see the temperature is 19.6 degrees Celsius, and you can also see radiate is 7.7 joules. This is per game tick, I believe, which is per half second. I'm saying this thing is losing thermal energy, is getting colder by radiating its heat away here into the vacuum of space. It could also convect its heat away, but there's no atmosphere, so it cannot convect. It cannot touch anything with its heat. Oh, see, its temperature has already fallen. So that's a thing that happens. We can also use this for station cooling, which is actually something we can use very well on the moon. And what are we breathing?
Air tank critical.
Pure oxygen. Now, I hope you realize that this is not just a canister which magically has oxygen. This is just a canister. Like this is just a canister. And what's in there is what you have put in there. Let's look at the waste canister.
Waste tank critical.
Here you can see we have two gases in there. Most of it is CO2, which is what we breathe out. So we are producing the stuff that the plants need. And some of that is also oxygen, is because the AC of the suit, the air conditioner, will use oxygen to also adjust the temperature. You can see the temperature is currently falling. I don't know why exactly, because it also has the life support battery, which should be used, so I haven't yet deciphered that, and there's no use really to do that, because new spacesuits are on the way, which will change the mechanics a bit, but certainly it's useful to learn these. Here you can see the temperature 23.8 degrees. Why? Probably because
Air tank critical.
the air tank was colder, so that must be the warm air that we breathed out, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. And now you can see here the temperature is increasing again. And here we have filters, CO2 filter, carbon dioxide. There are various types of filters for the various gases that we have in the game. It's like 6 or 7, which also have their various aggregate states. Solid, which is frozen, don't put that in a pipe, no pipe likes that. Liquid and gas. This is a phase change diagram, and yeah, that is how the game handles it. The higher the pressure, and so forth. Let's not go into this now. So there are different kinds of filters, and the CO2 filter has the following purpose. The spacesuit must be able to remove the CO2 that I'm breathing out from the volume within which I stand. I am inside the volume of the spacesuit. That is simulated. And I'm breathing out the CO2, and so then there will be CO2 in that volume. And if they would not be removed, let's turn the filters off, which is the same as if I would remove all these 3 filters. So I don't have to do that to simulate this. Then you can see here the waste tank is no longer being filled because Actually, I don't quite understand. Yeah, wait a second. I want to see something. I have actually never noticed
Filter
this.
critical.
I was wondering if there's oxygen going in there, shouldn't there also still be something going in there even without the CO2 filters? Anyway, so without the filter, the CO2 would just build up. We keep breathing out the CO2. The pressure set is 101 kilopascals. So eventually, this pressure that the suit upholds would consist mostly of CO2. It can no longer just put in something from the air tank because nothing is being removed. And so there's no more oxygen that we can take into our lungs. The lungs are also simulated, which can take damage, then you can have less oxygen intake into your body. It's very cool. Let's turn the filters back on so you don't have trouble breathing. Yeah, and that's something very important that you need to understand. Every button in Stationeers is labeled so that it will tell you what it will do when you click on it. So I'm turning the filters off, the air off, and the AC off. I'm turning the light on. I'm locking the helmet. See? And so if ever you're standing around and suddenly you can't breathe, then take note. These things are not on right now. You're suffocating because your spacesuit is basically not operable. Now another super important thing about Stationeers, your tools. They don't have to be in your tool belt here. You can also just go and put the tool belt in here, for example, and open it from here. That's not a problem. Which is even advisable, because if you, for example, then put the mining belt here to your actual belt, and then you use the mining drill, right mouse button to turn it on, then you see here the ore was automatically put in here. That is not just useful, but you can also mine ISIS. I don't mean those idiots with their political agenda and nice religion, but instead I'm talking about frozen stuff. See, now it's on the ground, and maybe we will notice soon that it vanishes. Doesn't it? It should be melting. I don't know why it's not melting right now. Huh. Well, it was melting in my hand. Normally it should also be melting on the ground. So we don't want that. We want that in our mining belt. That is why you want to put the mining belt right here. And don't leave your tablet on the whole time. That battery is already down to 77%. How do you fill the batteries? Well, we have some reserve batteries in the... Where's the lander? Oh, there. Never lose your station out of sight. But we can also just use a solar panel, for example. 77%. Is it charging? Oh, 0 watts. For whatever reason, it's assuming a visibility of none. The terrain is a bit tricky sometimes, but if you place some proper foundations where you have to build your base on, then you will not have that problem. Yeah, see, it's charging already, pretty strongly even. So your tools, why are those so important? Because that's how you build stuff. And even more importantly, if I put any tool now in my hand, my go-to example is always the screwdriver because it's the least used tool, then when you point at something, you will get a tooltip that is, a literal tooltip, which is very informative. Here, for example, it tells us if we use the angle grinder instead of the screwdriver, we can deconstruct the entire lander, which is not inadvisable because you don't need that thing anymore, and then the boxes will all fall to the ground. Alternatively, we can go and use the wrench to unfasten. I think that is even shown without the tool. Yeah, a wrench can be used to unfasten, but that's a big exception. They hard-coded this. Everything else is, you need a tool there. Okay, finally something's happening. I'm talking the whole time. See, I have been doing this for a long time. Many of these tutorial videos. I have fast ones, slow ones. I made one Saturday morning that was almost 8 hours long, believe it or not. One straight recording, no pauses. And by the way, this video also has no editing. I'm just using pausing. I have a hotkey on my mouse. So if some of these parts of this video are a bit stupid and you wonder, why didn't he re-record that? That's because I can't, man. I would have to start over. Okay, so this is what you can do. You can loosen them like this, or I could instead have done this, which would have been faster if it would be my goal to indeed loosen everything. And now we have something very important. We have this here, our... Will you stop? We can see here the drag handle. Our oxygen tank, which is full. And no, it's not just a decorative plastic thing. Everything in Stationeers is real. This box has stuff in it. This is a canister which can be overpressurized and explode. Currently it has 7.7 megapascals. If it goes beyond 10, it will explode. Temperature is 293 K. Well, something maybe that you should know. So there's Kelvin and there's Celsius, degrees Celsius. If you add 1 degree Celsius, you have also added 1 Kelvin. We don't say degrees in the case of Kelvin, we only say degrees in the case of Celsius, just like in the real world. So the distance from point to point is the same for Kelvin and Celsius. Kelvin starts at absolute zero, where there's no nuclear motion at all, so there's no chaotic motion. That's what heat is. It's chaotic motion of particles. The orderly motion is called momentum. Whoa, throwing stuff. If they are just moving all over the place, particularly when they're kind of bound to each other, like in a solid, that's what we call heat. Anyway, so if there's no motion at all, that's 0 Kelvin. That's minus 173.15 degrees Celsius. So in other words, when we see here the temperature is 293 Kelvin, then we know it's 273.15, 293. What's the difference? Almost 20, so we almost have 20 degrees Celsius. Should be 19.5 or something. And, oh, where's our battery? You can also drag the battery directly here onto the tablet to put it in. But I mean, you have seen enough now of the alter mouse magic to handle this interface, you know. It takes a lot of getting used to, particularly when you later build stuff and need to change the tools all the time. Then you will be appreciative of the fact that you can also double click instead of having to drag. Anyway, so here we have our tank. And what temperature does it have? 19.9. Yeah, almost 20, but not quite. Yeah, you can see 12.5 joules radiated away. That's a bit more than what's radiating away from our little canister here. So why is this already at 19.4 when this one is now only at 19.8? Well, I'm not sure. It might be because I've removed it from the lander, but I think it was already radiating away before that. Or it might be plain simply because it is so much. See, radiating away this amount of joules means that from the overall total amount of joules, something is subtracted. But what if the overall amount of joules is ginormous? And that's what it is, because there's so much gas in here as opposed to this little canister in here. I mean, you could say, yeah, it has 5 megapascals, it has 7 megapascals, it's almost the same, it's only a little bit more. No, that's not what it is. This, you see, pressure, I talked about that. Here we have the canister with 64 liters capacity. And if they would have 640 liters capacity, then we would have a pressure of like 560 kilopascals. Here we have 790 liters, which is a bit more than 10 times what the canister here has. And so if you have 7 megapascals here, in this canister there would be 70 or even more megapascals. See, it's a lot more gas. But you can also see it differently. You can see here the amount of molecules. It's not 2.5 K molecules, 1,000 molecules. It's of course a lot more. But moles is a scientific unit, just like Kelvin in the real world, a ginormous number, but it ultimately really means the amount of molecules multiplied by this by a scientific constant. And here we can see we only have 148 moles, and here we have 2,500. Yep, that's more gas. Now that we have this nice tank here and it is no longer attached to the lander, we can actually use it. Use it for what? Well, I could actually click here. Let's turn the light on. See, many devices have multiple click points. For example, I can toss down my, where is it? The welding torch and turn it on even from here. Oh, now we have a temperature here of 900 Celsius. What's going on? Oh, well, we're getting some CO2 here at 900 degrees Celsius and some pollutant, because that thing is also simulated. What do you expect? This is Stationeers. And here we have a fuel mixture. Anyway, what I wanted to say, many things have multiple click points. And in this way, you can also utilize this in regards to the oxygen tank, because observe, here we have 4,500 kilopascals of oxygen. I can drag my spacesuit's oxygen canister here.
Air tank critical.
Have you seen how the gauge was lowered a bit? Now we have a pressure of 7.4 megapascals, like here also 7.4 megapascals, because it has been equalized. The small volume and the large volume, their pressure has been equalized. Now I have topped up my oxygen tank. And so you can see we have a lot of oxygen, but remember, we are on the moon. Eventually we will have no oxygen and then we die. This is a survival game. But don't worry, you have auto-saving that is happening all the time. You can see that here, world saved, and so forth. You can also press F5 for a quick save. That's not documented anywhere, I don't know why. But you can also just press escape and click here, that has the same effect. Or you can save that under a new name. And so in case we were horsing around a bit too much and opened our fuel tank, which is now being unleashed into the world, and then we also turned on our welding torch of an open flame. Oh, and so we consider not actually taking this fail, or it's just an experiment, we're beginners, right? Then you can just load the save game here from the main menu, and you don't just have all your save games here with a little screenshot, but also you have a save history. I don't know how extensive that really is, but certainly we can roll back a few steps in case you did something wrong here or here or here. You can see here on the left which time that was. All is well. So before we now finally do what we came to do, building a station and enjoy the deep engineering simulation that Stationeers has, let's learn a bit more about inventory handling. I mean, basically we know everything that we need to know. Press Alt and do the thing, but you already saw that there's more going on. For example, there's double clicking. But you can also press F two times. One time does, wait, what? Yeah, you can use a mouse wheel to select a button, and F pushes that button. For example, open helmet.
Pressure critical.
But you can also
Oxygen critical.
double click it, so to speak, which is like double clicking on the thing in your hand. Now I scroll here, double click. Oh, nothing's happening. But a single click will do. I press F once, and that flips that back and forth. Actually, I don't need a double click. Oh, yeah, but I think that makes sense. See, okay. Let's say I put this thing here, and then I drag it here, and then I drag it here. Now we'll press F. What happens? This is being put into that slot. Possibly because that's the currently selected slot. Now I'm pressing F again. Now it's being put there. Now I'm doing a double click. Now it's being put there, because that's a meaningful slot. See, you cannot put everything in this slot, only a tool. And you cannot put anything in here. Tools, for example, you can only put ores here. So your inventory is somewhat limited, but you still have enough space to cope. Maybe it's just easiest to stick with click and drag and such. But you have just seen that there's more going on, more possibilities. Let's take a look at the things that we brought. There's a handle. Okay, put that here. The handle here for the oxygen tank, for the water tank is here at the waist, and here it's at the top. Why? Because this is a Mark II tank. This one is insulated. Even if it's 1000 degrees Celsius out here, the tank will not take notice. It will not heat up. It does not cool down. Is that indeed so? Let's see. Well, convected, radiated, none. Radiated, radiated. See, there's water in there. It's getting colder very slowly, but don't worry, you have enough time. So what did we bring? We have survival supplies, hydroponic supplies, and these are again just names. It's just a box with an arbitrary name with stuff in it. You could also just put it in different boxes. It's not a special box by any means. And the colors, we can spray paint stuff. You can do that yourself, yeah. AIRLOCK supplies, electrical supplies, construction supplies, the most important ones for our purposes. So in case you want to like pause the video to get to scan what it is that we brought, you can do that here. I will show you the supplies that we have in our little survival box here. Then we have the hydroponic supplies. AIRLOCK supplies. The labeler can be used to rename things. Well, let's do that.
Airtight critical.
Electrical supplies. Construction supplies. So let's reflect on this. We are an astronaut on the moon. You can even look at in third-person perspective. That's the left shift key. Press that key and use the mouse wheel so that you can zoom in and out. This is not how you can play the game. It's just for looking around. And we're pretty much lost, man. I mean, we have all these supplies, but if we don't utilize them, we're dead. We need to eat at some point and drink. How am I supposed to do that? I mean, okay, in easy mode, you can actually eat and drink through your helmet. Since you will be playing easy mode as a beginner, let's demonstrate that. Here in our uniform, we have some stuff, and in the survival supplies crate, you saw there was also something to drink. Oh, and where's our landing capsule? There's also some stuff here. These bags are empty, but here we have a water bottles, and here we have cereal bars. So, water bottle. Let's drink something through closed helmet, however ridiculous that is. Though real astronauts do that too. They have something inside their spacesuit, obviously. I just pressed the right mouse button for a short moment. In case your thirst ever goes to absolute zero, so you will take damage, then you can see the health bar also here, the health percentage. Currently you cannot see that because there's no reason to show it. So when you see that, you know, oh, oops, something's wrong. Then you want to like get out of the situation. And then it's not advisable to just keep pressing this button until it is full, because until it is actually full, until you release it, nothing will have happened. It's best to just hit it for a short time and release, because then you will be out of this immediate dire situation, and then you can drink some larger gulps. Same for food, same concept. Depending on what it is that you're eating. I mean, this thing you can eat bit by bit, but a raw tomato or raw potato, for example, you can only eat whole. If you want to eat it bit by bit, you would have to microwave it first, and then it also has more nutrients anyway. So now we've seen we need to satisfy oxygen, and we need to satisfy food and water. You don't need to sleep, and eventually the hygiene display up here that will come up, you don't need to obey it. It will only make you a little bit slower and will only reduce, I think, the mood, which in turn feeds back on the amount of food and water your body can hold, and the quality of food that you have eaten. Currently we have 3 stars. Also defines how much you can hold in there, so how often you will have to go and eat and drink something. And in hard mode you cannot do that, in normal mode also not when the helmet is closed, so you need to be in a space. So when you're out there mining and this is ticking down because the maximum value is so low, see, suddenly that comes into play. That is all somewhat well balanced. But what you also have to keep in mind is your temperature. Currently we don't have a problem. The spacesuit keeps that up. But if you wouldn't have
Power critical.
any more battery, then eventually the temperature would fall and fall. And there's also nothing to breathe at some point. Or does this still work? Oh, interesting. I didn't know that the pump was still capable of doing stuff while there's no battery. Anyway, we need a station. And to build a station, we need foundations. I mean, we can also just do walls. The walls will also work, but many things that we will put in there, many devices, and I mean very essential ones, they will require a frame foundation. And that's why normally everybody makes frames as a foundation for their station. So now we have those in our hand. And then we press the right mouse button, and then we get this thing here. We can also use the mouse wheel for different options, but this is one of those kits that only has one item, so nothing happens. Yeah, let's just build that right here. Now we have a foundation, but this foundation is still hollow. Let's put that aside. And look once again at the building materials. We also have iron sheets here. There are also steel sheets later in the game and steel frames which belong together. But here it's iron sheets and iron frames. Spacesuit temperature 11 degrees. Now let's take the welding torch and weld that. And how do I know that? By
Oxygen low.
By pointing with a tool here at the frame. You can see the tooltip, welding torch and one iron sheet required to continue construction. Or angle grinder
Oxygen critical.
would deconstruct this again. Right mouse button to turn this thing on. Aha, and now we can walk on this thing, but it's not yet airtight. For that we have to weld it another time. See, now it's a proper airtight foundation for our station. This could be the ground you walk on inside your rooms. Now let's try to survive a bit. Where is the battery? I tossed it somewhere there. Let's see if flushing the suit helps. Apparently it does. So I guess that the air tank can be unleashed into the spacesuit based solely on the fact that it has a very high pressure. That is how this mechanism seems to work, though in my opinion that would also require battery. I mean, what is currently regulating this? But it cannot use the filtration system to pump that out again. That does require battery. But I just flushed my suit, which also wasted a lot of my oxygen, and so let's just say maybe later you will have some nitrogen in your spacesuit. That is harmless, it's not a problem. But if it keeps building, that's a problem, because then it displaces the oxygen that could be put into this thing. And so you need a nitrogen filter also here in your set. I mean, we only need one filter anyway. The others are just reserves. But we could then use a nitrogen filter here as an alternative. But if you don't have that, then you can just press flush, waste a little bit of your air tank, but then you're fine again, like I am right now, fine. And the temperature for some reason refuses to fall further. Okay, let's ignore that then, and put the battery back in. Okay, we have now seen how to make a foundation, then let's make a foundation. Ah, the landing capsule door is in the way. Aha. And weld. You hear that the sound is changing. That is obviously because gases are being excreted from this process, and therefore there's some atmosphere here, and so we can hear the sounds better, which is also simulated. So you're probably looking forward to finally having a station that we can breathe in, because then we will hear with our own ears instead of this muffled stuff all the time. There. By the way, you have field of view settings, which you can adjust in the settings menu. For example, less wide or very wide. And you can adjust these even right in the game, and then reset back to the default that you have defined in the settings, and this can be done with these keys. And the third person control is currently left shift. I will put that on right shift, because the jetpack, where is it? Here. I will put that on left shift. In this game you cannot run, and so I think it makes a lot of sense to just put the jetpack on shift, so you can use that in emergencies. You've seen the tutorials for a short moment earlier in this video, yes? They are building a new system like that, which will be interactive. You will have tasks that are listed here. I've shown that in some other videos. They're currently disabled, but this is already reflected here in the settings. And so what was for the longest time the F2 key, hiding and showing the user interface, is now on a different one. F2 would fold and unfold these task lists. And since I don't want this, I will just change this for myself. There. So now let's talk about the F keys. F1 is for the reference, where you can look up things like the active vent. There's the kit and there's the active vent itself. I will explain that later. And F1 again. You can also pause here in case you want to read in silence without the game ticking down your oxygen and everything. You can also use the compact view or transparent. F2, in my case now, since I reconfigured that, visibility of the graphical user interface. F3, the console that you should normally not fiddle with, but, well, here's the help, here's the commands that exist. Then we have F4, which is for multiplayer stuff, because this game does have multiplayer. That's even the original focus of the game. That is still somewhat buggy, or buggier than the single player, but and that shows you some connection information. F5 is for saving, and that's it, I believe. By the way, if this tutorial is too slow for you, I have some very fast ones. Only someone recently brought up the problem of the user interface, and so I thought, you know what, it's time to make a new one. And this time I take it once again more slowly. So here we have our foundation, and you see here I welded some things not completely airtight, because I want to leave this on the outside. Why should I then waste the iron sheet on this? However, if you accidentally did so, not a problem. You can just use the wrench. That is something that, of course, you would have been told by pointing at an inappropriate, by using an inappropriate tool pointing here. And then you get that item back. So this doesn't have to be airtight. I will put some devices here, and so I have some kind of front porch. I mean, it's a matter of taste how you design it. It's an easy beginner way to do it like this. Now we need walls. So our construction supplies crate came with arc furnace, autolathe, iron frames, iron wall, glass sheets, plastic sheets, iron sheets, iron wall. Well, let's take the iron walls then for a spin. Right mouse button to get this build ghost thing again, and so we can place a wall. But how would we place it? I mean, look at this green box here. What does that mean? It means that we can build like this. But instead of putting the wall here, for example, you can also put it here. It's kind of a matter of choice, of taste. But for example, if you place a cable on the wall, on this wall here, if you then it will be on this side of the wall. You can access it then. So if you are here and you place the cable, then you cannot easily access it. You would have to kind of go to the outside to access it. And let's put a wall like this and a wall like that. I will explain that soon. Let's toss down some things that we don't immediately need. We don't need the duct tape, the solar panel, the network analyzer, which is a cartridge for the tablet, which then we can point at cables and see which devices are connected and how much electricity they're consuming. Because cable network management is also something you need to do. It seems tedious, but it's not. I mean, let's not think about this as things that you have to do. Think about that as an opportunity, as simulation depth that you are to enjoy. That is why you play this game. And this game has a lot of that. The pill, also not needed. yeah, let's not talk about health for now. Let's go back to construction. I know from pointing a tooltip at the what's its face, at this not yet constructed wall, that I need iron sheets and glass sheets to complete this. See how useful it is to have two hands if you want to wall up the entire station? So I want to show you the difference. If you place the wall here or there, depends on where you want the nice side to be, basically. This has this nice design, and different kinds of walls also have a nice design on that side, whereas this side is just the practical, it's the construction side, basically. No, with a T, with a D. Hey, let's place a cable to see what that's like. By the way, you can see here 50, and you can see also 50 or 12. If I click on this, you once again get another inventory, so to speak. And if I click split one, then it will split that into my hand. If my hand would be occupied, however, then it would split that on the ground. Kind of important to keep in mind when you're doing it with something like this. Oh, where did it go? See, here was 0 degrees Celsius, and you can see here in the air these little streaks. Now they're gone. Let's do that again. That is melting, and the atmosphere is spreading around here. Yep, that is really happening. So you can split this, but we don't need this. We want to place a cable. Press right mouse button to get this build ghost, and now we have this cable pointing in this direction. And I will use once again this magic that I haven't yet explained, changing the orientation. See, there's 6 keys above your arrow keys. Page up, page down, home and end, and insert and delete. These, you can see here in the tooltip also, can be used to rotate the cable in a certain way. But instead of doing that, you can also just press the C. But actually, that's not my personal preference. I personally prefer to do it differently. You can see in the tooltip which key to use. You have seen now the default is C, so don't blame me if I now change it. You can read in your tooltip how it actually works. So that's the so-called quantity modifier, but in this situation it's for rotation. So I will do this. Now it says R, it's red. Why? Because something else is also using that. That would be the active hand slot. Let's put that on C then to swap them. And what is it then, this active hand slot key? Ah, that's as if I was click on that thing with the mouse button. So I don't actually need that key necessarily. Yep, and that's why I put it on C, where I don't really need it. But R, I need all the time. This is the auto-rotate key, which will pick out meaningful rotations. What does meaningful mean? Well, let's look at this. If I select a different, with the mouse wheel, a different item of this kit, then we get different kinds of cables, and don't worry, this is not actually the work that you have to do. Let's point here with this curved cable. Now I press the auto-rotate key, and what happens is, I get this. I now keep pressing this, or I press, hold it down and use the mouse wheel, that also works, as all of that is shown in the tooltip. Then it will only show this rotation. But here, it will rotate in all kinds of ways, because here all of these could make sense. See, auto-rotate. Utilize it, it is very useful. And now you can see the difference here in the wall. Inner or outer wall. Let's use the, what's its face? The wire cutters. Obviously something that you need here. I mean, you can cheese it a bit by doing this, particularly when you're looking down from the top, because it doesn't work from the bottom. So you could cut this, but in principle you would want to have the cables on the side where you would then be working the most of the time. So in other words, it makes sense to put the walls like this on the outside, which is also what the design is meant to do. The design points towards the outside. So let's do something you usually don't want when your station is built. Deconstruct a window. Can you imagine? All the air getting lost. So then that. See, we're not losing anything. If we use the wrench here on the welded crate or welded frame, we get the sheet back. We don't get the welding torch fuel back that we used. Or if you later have the arc welder, which uses battery instead and doesn't set the air on fire, so that's better for indoors. It also doesn't excrete heat and pollutant. Then that electricity also doesn't come back. But the materials you get back. So what other things do we have here in our nice kit? Oh right, the rotation. Yeah, I already explained. You have the 6 keys above the arrow keys. Now I'm using this decidedly. Or now I'm pressing R and using the mouse wheel. And you might wonder, why does it make this click sound here? That's rotation. Here, you can see these horizontal stripes. Now they're horizontal, now they're vertical, or vice versa. Stupidly, you cannot see that yet. That is something we have complained about a lot, but there are so many things the devs have to do, so you have to forgive them. I mean, this game doesn't even make the money back that it's costing, but still they are at it. And we should be thankful for that. Now anyway, we have our wall here, and we have different kinds of walls. This one only needs iron sheets. And the other 3 or 4 variants
Power low.
of this kit, they kind of look like this, slightly different. Personally, I don't like that look, and that's intentional because they hate me. No, because these are the beginner materials. Later, you get better ones. Your floor will no longer look like a construction site. This is just the beginning, man. We're building a station out of the most fundamental parts, yet at the same time, it's somewhat gamified. So, don't worry, it's not going to be super tedious. It's going to be fun. I mean, if you're not having fun yet, then well, then you're going to have fun later. Okay, so let's build some walls. Better. Now, before I build more walls, how about we haul all that stuff in? I mean, once we have this all closed, this will be a lot more tedious. There. I like to place the ceiling in the same way, outside my station basically, so I can easily access cables on the ceiling also. And mind you, while I am quite a seasoned Stationeers after over 1500 real hours in-game, I'm still a complete ridiculous noob when it comes to proper station design, because my stations always look like ass. I've seen stations I was just envious, the sane kind of envy, you know, realizing, god damn it, this guy has some skill and I know nothing. That is the level that you can achieve here in Stationeers. Survival, playing with the gadgets, getting somewhere, having some fun experiences, yes. But you can go really, really sophisticated, and it's even worth it, because what I've seen there wasn't just good design, it was also super functional, using phase change in every place to do all kinds of cooling and shenanigans. Blown away, dude. Anyway, okay, ceiling, wall, and we need a door, don't we? We actually need 2 doors, because we need an airlock. Because, I mean, if you have one door here and we open it, then whenever we open it to go outside, the air will stream out. And if we have a door here and a door here, or for example here and here, it doesn't really matter, it can do over the corner. Over the corner is actually advisable. I think it has yields better real estate here in the airlock for devices, but doesn't really matter. Then I can say, okay, seal the inner door, then open the outer door, and then I will only lose this one box of air, which is still stupid. But what if I put an air pump in here whenever both doors are closed, and then I pump whatever is in here back into the station? Then I will not have that problem, can open the outer door, nothing will be lost. That is what we have to achieve, and it sounds complicated, but now, to you, someone who will become a Stationeer, yes, it will look like a great puzzle, a great thing to engineer, to build, to solve. And yes, that's what it is, and it's even easy. But you can also make it more sophisticated, faster, more interesting. So it's not like the simple thing that you will learn later in this video. That's the limit of it. No, that's just a very rudimentary, simple version of it. Now closing up the roof. There. But did we get everything? There's a nice way to check this, because the crowbar always has this nice highlight effect, and oops, here it is missing, because there's no glass sheet in there. Same for the inner walls. Is everything closed up? Yep. Now we could make a straight airlock or one round the corner. I will choose the latter, so you can immediately see what the difference would be. So let's put the wall here. It doesn't really matter whether you put it like this or like that, but since I'm going to be putting devices on the wall, there will be cables and I want easy access to them, so I will put it this way. But still, it's somewhat arbitrary. Okay, nice. Now we need doors. So we're kind of done with the construction supplies for now. Then let's look at the airlock supplies. There's the active vent. There's an air pump. That's the thing we're gonna need. Doors. The doors are like the walls. They are kit. Here we have the glass door. Here we have the composite door. What's the difference, you might ask? The composite door, if you name it, will have its name written on the door. And it's somewhat intransparent. There's only a window in there is a big window, but it's a window only. Whereas the glass door is completely glass, but you can see that the door parts are smaller in the composite door, and so when they go to the side, they don't need that much space. They will still be within the door space. And so I can place down a cable here on the ground. Right here, here or here or here, there's a grid. And if I use the glass door, however, then I will not have that space. That's something to keep in mind. Also, if I want to place the doors like this, then one of them would have to be a composite door, because otherwise that wouldn't work. So I will, to show you both, I will just put both doors here. On the inside, let's put a composite door, because then I can also immediately use the labeling feature. AIRLOCK. Right mouse button to turn on and off, you know that by now. To show you what that looks like. And it's also practical. We're in here, and there might be more doors. This door, however, leads to the outside. So that's the AIRLOCK. Now we need to continue construction. How do we do this? Point at it with a tool. We can see here we need a welding torch and plastic sheets. Same for this one. And the next thing we need is crowbar and glass sheets. Here for the glass door we need 2 glass sheets. Oh, that's even more expensive. And for this one we don't need this much glass. Whoops. Now we're in an enclosed little box and can go nowhere. Good thing we can still operate the doors with a crowbar. Opening and closing both works. And you can see here we have power connections. Okay, so let's use the cable to connect all of that, because certainly the AIRLOCK controller that we'll have will tell the doors to open and close, and so we need certainly they need to be powered. Even if we do the AIRLOCK completely manually, we need to need them powered at least, right? So we have seen now we have this configuration here, even though I never made any effort to get I think this is this the one, yeah, this kind of cable, because you don't need to. Let me show that once again. I can say, let's connect this. And now I want to do this connection also. And now it's saying merging requires wire cutters in other hand. Oh, so that's how it works. Yes, you only need the curved cables and the straight cables. That's all. To power the doors, we need electricity. The electricity is either available directly from a solar panel, or from a coal burner, or from a gas generator. It doesn't generate gas, it generates electricity by burning gas, or from wind energy. Well, not here. But that's only transient energy. That's energy that gets lost if it is not constantly used. So what we want is, we want our electricity source to pipe into a storage, into a battery, just like in Astroneer. One of the most fun aspects, I believe. And so that's something we want to do here too. And this battery then is used to drive other things, for example, the doors. So for this, let's look at the electrical supplies crate, where we have some batteries. And you may have noticed there are different kinds of batteries. In our hand drill, for example, or in the tablet, small batteries. These are large batteries. There's also nuclear batteries, which, well, I mean, these ones have 8 times the amount of power than the small ones, I believe, and the nuclear ones have 8 times the amount that these ones have, I believe. The nuclear ones are not easy to manufacture. You will have to be deep in the game already. And there are also wireless batteries for which you can place transmitters in your station, so you don't have to charge them at all. This wastes, of course, electricity, but later you won't really care. So now we need a place to put the battery. You already saw the battery charger, but that's to charge the battery. It doesn't go both ways. So we need this thing, the power controller. This thing is not just a switch that connects 2 cable networks with each other, but it also has a battery charger slot. So let's put that thing here into the airlock. We have 2 of these. This is just a cosmetic difference. See, it would have been upside down, or the other side up, otherwise. Double click. Oh, it doesn't work? Yeah, it does. So on this side, which is the input side, is it the input side? We can point here. Aha, this is the output. Okay, so I cabled this correctly. Let's put a battery in there. And now, when we turn this on, we can see now the doors are powered. But this thing constantly wastes some electricity of the battery. You can see it's already no longer blue, but at least still 100%-ish. So maybe we want to put up some solar panels first, huh? And this is when I would want to return to the normal time scale, which I believe was 0.3. I'm not sure though. It depends on which world you're on. I think 0.3 is on the moon. Because so far we basically have not been cheating. I mean, I have been doing all of this during daylight, so I needed less flashlight, admittedly. But now that I want to put up the solar panel, it would be cheating if I just keep the sun conveniently in that one spot. So I picked the solar panel from the power supply crate. There are different kinds of solar panels. This one is mine. Let's see, where do I put this? We can put this on the airlock, for example, which means that we cannot put pipes and such up here in the airlock ceiling. That's something to keep in mind. But it will work. I think we have enough wall space to make this happen. Then I can rotate this with the auto-rotate key or with the other keys. And there's also 2 variants here, this one and this one. I will just use the flat one. And then we need to place some glass, which again the tooltip trick would have told us. And you can see now the power is increasing. Why? Because depending on the angle, the flashlight doesn't have any effect. Depending on the angle, there will be optimal or less optimal energy conversion, you know? It's not energy production, it's electricity production, it's energy conversion. Where's the cable? Didn't I have a cable? I did. Where is it? Whoops. Wait. Huh. Okay, it doesn't matter. Oh, there it is. Then let's connect that cable here. You can see when it goes yellow that it has a meaningful connection. And you can also see the plus sign. So the cable itself is yellow, and the plus sign is yellow, but the other one is not. Because the other one doesn't have a connection, a meaningful connection. Over time you will get used to the grid alignment concept here. And so it is ultimately very easy to do what I'm doing here. So now the solar panel, have you seen? It was green, now it's blue. The solar panel is already charging the battery, which means that currently we're basically we're living directly off solar energy. There's nothing's being wasted here. But I don't want to do this now. What we also want to do is we want to put up the battery charger and also the second area power controller. Why? Because the area power controller can only take this much input to charge the battery. I mean, the throughput electricity-wise of the area power controller is unlimited. But when it comes to battery charging, there is a limit. And we certainly want the batteries to be charged optimally. We don't want to waste light that's coming in from the sun. And so we want to cable these up. It's yellow, okay, plus sign is yellow on both sides. We want to cable these up optimally. And so now I can just go and charge my battery, which is already down as 18%.
Power critical.
And there was another one here. Yep. Now they're both charging. 21%. 22%. And we have the battery charger too. The battery charger, as opposed to the area power controller, consumes electricity when you actually turn it on. How much? Well, battery charger small and battery charger. This is the small one, and it consumes 5 watts of electricity. The big one consumes 10 watts. Regardless whether there's a battery in there. When you turn it on, it consumes that power. And all devices also have waste heat, so your station will slowly heat up from devices that are in there and are running. Yep, all simulated. Now, what is the difference between these two small battery chargers? The same difference that we also have in the case of the active vent. Where is it? Here, the active vent and the active vent. This one is the kit. And that is the active vent. Remember the iron walls? Here, the kit iron wall that we use to make our nice station walls. If we scroll down here, we can see the various things that it can build. So, this is the kit, and this is the structure, the thing in the world. And from here you can go back to the kit. So the navigation here is rather simple. Small thing that I forgot. Do you see on screen these scratches? I just turned the first person helmet back on, which is on by default when you install the game. Could be some more immersion, but it also might be irritating. Let's keep it on for the moment to see what that's like. Look at the solar panel. The sun is still way up, but not at this angle. Nope. Which is why it's a good thing that we also have solar panels that can be pointed at the sun manually with a wrench or even using logic, because all devices in the game can be read out, and some of them programmed are controlled with logic. That's also why the doors have 2 connectors. This is the power connection, so that it would be powered, and this one is the data connection. Every device has both connections, but sometimes the connections are joined. For example, here in the case of the area power controller, you can see connection for area power controller provides power connection. On the other side, maybe we can see that better here. Yeah, I'm looking through the lid right now. Provides power and data connection. There's only one connection here. What are the logic connections good for? Well, let's look at, for example, the area power controller. Okay, that was a bit short. Scroll, and then, this is the kit. This doesn't help. We have to look at the structure, and the structure itself then can be read with logic. You can, for example, read whether it is on. You can also write that it is on, read and write, then the physical lever will actually flip over. You can lock it. I didn't even know you can lock these, so you can no longer manually switch them. And some devices even have slots. For example, the arc furnace. You toss something in and then it will burn that. On the other side we get some ingot. And this thing also has a slot. For what, by the way? Yeah, for the battery, which would be slot 0. And then we also have slot 1, because this thing, does it have a disk slot? I actually don't know what the second slot is good for. Anyway, that's what the logic is good for. And this might seem a bit, what's that good for? But that is how the AIRLOCK works. That is how the AIRLOCK is programmed. The device that I will now install uses that logic. We don't see it, but that is how it happens. So, we have the console here, with which I will control the AIRLOCK button-wise, but it will also hold the motherboard that controls the AIRLOCK. So, where's the AIRLOCK stuff? Here, we have the AIRLOCK thing. What was with the sun just now? Well, there's the Earth over there. Maybe you saw that when I was showing the You can see up there, the sickle there, that's the Earth. You know, that was an eclipse. The Earth was in front of the Sun. And soon the Moon is in front of the Sun. Yeah, if we have the board in there, now we need to seal that up with glass. Then we connect that with the cable. Yeah, and there was actually a mistake. See, that's the power that comes into the batteries. This thing is supposed to run on battery energy. It's not. It's currently running directly from the solar panel. We need to connect it to this. Yep, that looks better. Ah, yes, we need to turn this on. Now the battery will discharge because there's no longer any power source filling it. And this thing actually consumes 50 watts. That's quite a lot. And now it's saying error in config. What does this mean? This means this thing is not configured correctly. See here on the left side, the data disk slot that is used for configuration. Why ever, but that's just the way it is. So we put the disk in. We can see here that's not so hard if we know what we're doing. And now we can see here we have these devices listed. This thing is now listing all the devices that are on this cable network. In other words, it is not listing that APC, it is not listing that battery charger, because we are only seeing this stuff here. See, cable networks. And why is it listing these? Because we need to select the exterior door and the interior door. But both of these are saying exterior. Yes, so select the one that shall become the exterior door. We know this is the glass door here, so we just do this. Now it's disabled because it's under the control of this device here. Also, we can see the word AIRLOCK here. Yeah, that's our nice composite door. Very cool, huh? But if we don't know which one and we don't want to label them and they're both the same type, what do we do then? We can just click here. Then we see, this is now under the control, so that was that door. Okay, and this one is not under control. See, that's the way you can do it in case of doubt. So let's select the glass door as the exterior door. And now you can see, now this one would become the interior door. Okay, that's all then. But still, there's an error in config. Why? Because this is a fully fledged AIRLOCK controller. What does this mean? It means that it wants to pump the room empty. So we need a pump. AIRLOCK supplies, active vent. That sounds like a pump. And for good measure, let's also take those pipes with us. Where will I put this? It doesn't really matter. Let's put it here on the ground, why not? That is our nice air pump. And now we put some pipes. You can see this thing has, oh, you can't see, okay. You can see here, this thing has a pipe opening. You could also see that when we were placing the build goes, there was some bigger opening. You can see it's going yellow. The pipes behave exactly like the cables when it comes to all the various types and how you can cross them, except in this case you don't need the wire cutters, you need the wrench. But that wasn't so surprising, huh? So where do we want to lead this? Let's say I go upwards, and then I will use the passive vent, which is really just an opening, and place it here. You can see it's yellow, so it's already placed properly. So this thing could now suck from here and blow it back into the station. Nice. Let's configure this in. There we are. There we go. Active vent. Done. Right? No, still an error in config. Why? Why? What does this thing want from us? Well, if it wants to pump this room empty, then it needs to know that it has to do that. You could think that triggering the door would kind of tell it that, but how is it supposed to know that the AIRLOCK is now empty? For that, we need a gas sensor. And this thing is not just an arbitrary thing that you have to put into your AIRLOCK. This is not... See, the AIRLOCK supplies crate doesn't have the 3.5 things that you need to build an AIRLOCK. It has 3.5 things that can be used to make an AIRLOCK. That is what this is. You can also place the gas sensor in here, and use a machine to read out the ratio of oxygen that you have in here and warn you when it gets too low, or when there's not enough CO2 left for the plants, or just show that on a wall or something, on a display. All of that is possible. This thing is an actual gas sensor. It's not just a thing for this kind of just crafting recipe kind of thing. No, this is all emergent. Oh, by the way, the kit sensors, what else does it have? This is the gas sensor that we need. Then we have the occupancy sensor. This detects whether someone's in the room. This here is a room. You can see here room 8, and this is another room, room 9. The game assigns these automatically. Don't mind the numbers, they're arbitrary. And it detects automatically what is a room and what not. So if I have an occupancy sensor here and I'm over here, that counts as occupancy because I'm still in the room. Then we have the proximity sensor, which can be set to a distance, and so if someone is within that distance, it will be active. I used this once in a script where I was constantly, via the assembly language that you can program, you saw that in the trailer, change the distance setting of this thing, and then eventually it would be wide enough to detect, that's where he is, and then it would radio to me in the form of spoken words my distance. That's also possible. Daylight sensor detects whether there's sun hitting that grid, but it also tells you the angle of the sun, which is important for programming the automatic solar panels. Then the motion sensor is equivalent almost to the occupancy sensor, except it only detects whether someone is in the immediate box, in this one, or in this one, or in this one. Then we have the gas sensor, and that's the one we need to put up. There we go. And here it is listed. Click, and now it's green. Aha, it's no longer flashing an arrow. Okay. Now what the AIRLOCK is trying to do is trying to pressurize, because this AIRLOCK chip, there are two, this simple AIRLOCK chip has a default setting of 101 kilopascals, and that's the pressure to which it's trying to fill this box right now before it would open towards the indoors. But we can cancel this cycle, and so now we're on the inside. Now here I can press this button, or I can press this one, doesn't matter. I can even turn this off. The AIRLOCK will still be functional fully. And it closes this and evacuates this gas from this room, there was nothing in here, into the station. And now we have an AIRLOCK. So I would say it's time that we get some gas, some oxygen. Now to abort this, I have to turn this on and turn this off again. This is annoying, but this can be solved. I will show that later. How do we get gas in here? Well, we have this in here, but that's wasteful. We have pure oxygen in here. We have other oxygen sources, actually. I'm not talking about plants. Oh, and by the way, the disk which we need for the configuration here, we can just put that in here. Some other devices have disk slots, and the logic values of this active vent even allow you to detect whether there is the disk inserted in there. Here, slot 0 is, and you can check whether it's occupied. It's not relevant to beginners, I'm just telling you it's possible. So you can just keep that around here. That's a nice way of doing it. And yeah, this thing here, does it belong in the AIRLOCK? Definitely. You should always have an area power controller in your AIRLOCKs, no matter if they're big or small. This is a one-box AIRLOCK. You can also make large ones. You can make entire hangars and larger of these things, and many of them together. Always, because when you come in from out there, from mining or whatever, and then this, then you, for whatever reason you don't have power in here, then you cannot get into your station without removing a wall, and then you will have air loss, and this will lead to hair loss. So when you have this in here, you can just, I mean, if the battery would have run out, you can just put your own suit's battery in there for a moment, and then you're fine again. That's a nice thing, no? So always have one of these in your AIRLOCK. Now, as for getting some oxygen, we can mine for oxygen. Yep, we can do that. Actually, we have some here already. Oxite. And there's some oxide over there. So right mouse button to turn this thing on, and don't forget to turn it off again because it has a battery, the drill. When you find some ore in the world, it's advisable not to just pick the top cherries, the easy cherries, but to first dig down a bit, because they always come in clusters. And so you still have some kind of landmark to find the cluster in case you haven't mined it completely. Not that you really need to mine them completely. There's enough resources. And particularly later you can also build deep miners. Those are tall, big machineries that you can place that will dig down through the bedrock, through which you yourself cannot dig. You can only dig down to that lava-ish looking solid rock, and that's the end of it. But they dig through that and then get an infinite supply of random ores basically from down there, but never any gases. Oxide and such, you can only find that on the surface. Now you might think, okay, what if there's no more oxide? There will always be oxide, but there are some worlds on which there is no oxide in the first place. What do you do then? Well, you have some oxygen that you bring with you, that's one thing, and you can have other sources. You can, for example, burn fuel, which will lead, for example, to CO2, which can be converted to oxygen by means of plants, but you can also trade for it, because there's traders in the game that you can build landing platforms for, and some radio dishes and a communications computer, and then you communicate with them, and then they will land, and then you can buy some stuff from them. Here you can see in my uniform I have a credit card with 200 bucks on it. And they can also buy stuff from you. For example, they might want to buy a mining drill with a full battery from you, and pay like 150 or whatever for that. And then you make one, you manufacture one, which is relatively cheap, and then you can make money. You can even sell ores directly to them, but it depends on which trader you get. It depends on what they want. Anyway, now we have some oxide and even some coal. Let's go back then. And toss it down. Since the sun is currently shining in our station, it's melting. If it wouldn't melt, there are tricks to make it melt by giving it some trigger gas, basically. Could, for example, open your waste canister. You will notice when I open this now, wait, where is it? It's a bit chaotic here. There. We have 2.3 megapascals already in our waste canister, and I can open this now. I can open this thing, and then you will see here in our tablet. It was higher in the beginning, but now it's spreading out in the room. Isn't this a nice simulation? It works box by box, and so you might think that this active vent sucking the gas from this room will suck the air gas here from the sensor. The sensor will think the room is now evacuated, and then the airlock cycles, even though the room is not yet empty. But that's not how it works. This thing just takes from this box, and this thing just measures this box. It's a simplified, gamified simulation, but it works very, very well. So now we have some gas in here, and also my waste tank is no longer full-ish. See, these things can be up to 10 megapascals, but the spacesuit cannot fill them that much. Once they reach 3 megapascals, you will get your warning, like we currently have the hydration warning, and when they become full to 4 megapascals, 4,000, a bit less than what this thing now is, then they can no longer be filled. Then you will get the critical warning. So then you will begin to suffocate, because no more CO2 will be removed. And one of the emergency measures, of course, is to just open this thing. But be careful where and when you do that. You don't want to waste your gases on a vacuum world like this one. On Vulcan, for example, you don't want to do that on the outside, because then shit explodes. So, do we have enough gas here to breathe? No, we do not.
Low pressure. Oxygen critical.
So let's toss on some more. You can see that the station temperature, which was 4 degrees, is now decreasing, because this is ice. It's 0 degrees basically, and it's cooling down by melting. Can we now open the suit? Yep, we can. If we had 20 kilopascals in here and it would be pure oxygen, that would be enough. Once we have a mixture, that would no longer be enough, but since we have way more than 20 now, this is enough. So finally we can be a bit human. And we should take the opportunity to eat and drink something. %. Alrighty. There's a little problem. Oh, yeah, there's a little problem. I don't know what this is. This occurs sometimes. There's still many bugs in this game, but there are very few game-breaking bugs in single player. In multiplayer it's a bit harder still because of synchronization problems, but they're working on this tediously and restlessly basically, and so we can rely on these guys. I mean, I have bought all the DLC, even though part of it's just cosmetic, because they deserve the cash. This is really a game that is not just deserving of your money because of its quality, but also because this game will actually change gaming as we know it. You can mark my words. We will have atmospherics in other games that are completely unrelated to atmospherics otherwise. Like, I know I say this often for those who have seen this already, but if you have heard me say it, why are you watching this beginner video again? I've made so many of these. Anyway, remember the game Half-Life 2? Yes, you do. Where you could stack things on each other, and this would then get you across certain places. There was this seesaw bridge kind of thing which you had to climb up by placing some weights on it, and you could stack things to climb on them, and there was a physics simulator, mechanical physics, not like electricity or so. It's interesting, right? We always say physics when we talk about games. What would we say now in an age where this game exists and where more games like this will certainly come into existence? What do we say then when we mean physics? Anyway, that was unrelated to the shooter that the game was. Why was that even in there? See, the argument, what a waste of processing cycles it would be to have atmospherics in the game, the same applies to, of course, these mechanics that Half-Life 2 though has. And kind of since then, that has increasingly been standard and is now standard in game engines. That's also why we have these nice mechanics in here, which have not really been programmed by Rocketworks. I mean, yes and no. They're using... Okay, I'm guessing now, but kind of talking out of my ass here. But I know that that engines have a lot of standard features, and part of that is certainly collision, rigid object, rigid body, collision, inertia, weight stuff, and then you can give objects parameters, and then you can use these mechanics relatively conveniently. I'm not saying they're not doing any work. By God, not. But I'm saying this is rather normal now. And in this same way, I believe we will have atmospherics in many games. Let's give some examples. Let's say, for example, we have a detective game where you are on scene, and now you would, for example, be able to smell, depending on maybe even on your RPG character values, how good your sense of smell is, that there has been some smoker in there, or you can feel that the seat is still warm, or stuff like that. Or in an average shooter, like for example Deus Ex, let's say a Deus Ex game, you can maybe smell the guard smoking around the corner, even though you don't see them yet. Or maybe you can use infrared sight, which for whatever ridiculous reason this game doesn't have. Can you imagine Splinter Cell, where you play a secret agent, third-person perspective, has an infrared view, all faked of course, and this game, which has actual heat simulation, doesn't have infrared view. It's ridiculous, but I bet this will come at some point because it's just too straightforward a demand to have, right? And so then you could maybe see a guard around the corner because they would be heating up the air around them by their presence, as an example of atmospheric simulation. Or you would have a shooting situation like, for example, in the Fear games with a very good enemy tactics simulation, how they would act, how they would flank you and so forth, where you could, for example, then where the firefight would create heat. Not if you use normal bullets necessarily, but if there would be laser guns, for example, or other such energy weapons, that would heat up the room. So this would be a problem. Eventually you would have to leave the premises, or maybe you could even shoot enough at the wall cladding, the plastic cladding behind your foes, so that it would start burning, and then there would be poisonous fumes being excreted from that place, spreading out in the room. Or maybe you could shoot out a window which would evacuate the room, possibly, and you have a breathing apparatus. They do not. Stuff like that. Or they might use those very same tactics against you. I mean, isn't this already ticking your balls if you have some, or other such things?
Power low.
This thought to have games like that? And what do you think is the probability of having games like that without a game that simulates, that emulates, that demonstrates a prototype, basically, what that could be like? And this game does that to some degree. It shows you what atmospherics can be like. And so this game is it that will show the world we will and should have atmospherics in games. Mark my words, this will come. So now we have some gas in here, and I said this airlock cycle thing, let's close the helmet, could be sped up a bit. Let me turn that on just so we can see. It would have worked otherwise also. I just want to show you. It will will pressurize to 101 kilopascals, but there's not that much pressure in there. But even if there would be 101 kilopascals in there, it would still take a long time. This thing is very fast, but imagine, there is no such thing as sucking. That doesn't exist. There's only pushing in reality, and there's also only pushing in this game. What this thing can do is it can take the air. Okay, I mean okay, for simulation purposes, this thing just takes the air in the surrounding room and then pushes that into the pipe. And it can also take the gas that is in the pipe and push that into the room. But how does the gas get into the pipe? Well, the gas thinks, oh, there's some space in this passive vent. You know what, I'm gonna walk in there, on foot, yep. And then once it's in there, the active vent would say, finally, okay, out into the airbox with you. That's how this works, and so that's why it takes so very long. But we can do something about this. And let's do that right now. I will now unassign the... Oh, I can't? For whatever reason, I cannot unassign the vent. So that is something, a bug, I would say, that was not in there like 2 months ago, so they actually fucked something up there. But the consoles have never been a friendly implementation, so they will eventually be redone. So we have to basically reset the airlock. We would have to make the airlock chip now in the manufactory, but I think they actually added an alternative. We can use a screwdriver to clear the airlock configuration. That has been in the game for a long time, but for a long time it didn't work properly. And then later I read what was really going on is it did work, however you would have to save and load the game to benefit from this change. And now we don't have to save and load the game. Well, anyway, it should work now. Let's see. Ah, okay. So what I want to do now is I want to pre-pressurize a pipe. Let's remove the... Yep, let's remove the passive vent here and add some pipes. Now we need to create some volume. Imagine, in here we have 8,000 liters. 8,000 liters. And here we have currently 20 liters. Let's make that 80 liters. Let's just fake build some pipes here. Actually not that high, because then they would inch out of the station's well, box. Where is the wrench? Ah, there it is. And this would mean that they would start bleeding thermal energy out there. This is not really a problem, but on Vulcan, for example, you will certainly take care not to have that happen, because that planet is so damn hot that you don't want to have any extraneous heat. How much volume do we have now? 70, okay. I don't have to do 80 here, just, you know, for mathematical purposes, so we can calculate easily. So if we have 101 kilopascals in here, hypothetically, and here we have 1/10 of the volume. I mean, actually this is not 1/10, it's 100th. Here we have 8,000 liters, and here we have 80 liters. Times 100 is 8,000. So we have 100th. So if we have 100 kilopascals in here, we push all of that into the pipe. That would mean we have 10,000 kilopascals, 10 megapascals in the pipes. The pipes can take up to 60 megapascals, so that is fine. But that is why I want to give it some volume. And then I will pump some gas in there manually. You can set the direction here. This is not the past tense, this is the present tense. When I click here, it will be set to outward. So it would pump from the pipe network outward into the room. The opposite of what I want right now. Now I'm sucking from the room into the pipe. Let's see what the pressure is. 7 megapascals already. I will go up to 20, so we have some nice reserves. Yeah, kind of. So, now that this thing is closed, we have always a high pressure reservoir from which this active vent can suck. Now let's reinstate the airlock like it was. Oh, these buttons work now? I didn't know that. Anyway, airlock doors, glass door exterior, airlock interior, vent, gas sensor, done. Huh. I guess these buttons don't do anything. So let's suck the airlock. This is, of course, is fast, like it was before. But now behold. Much faster. And we can make it even faster, I believe, by putting more pressure in there. Or maybe that doesn't help. Maybe the real difference is that we could use a bigger vent, because those things exist. Anyway, now we have a nice airlock that we don't have to constantly turn on and off here. This thing is a pickaxe, in case you have no more battery in your drill. Yeah, it's really the Minecrafty pickaxe, basically like that. But this is a tool slot. I want to put the tablet in there so I have more space. And now I want to build something, because where's the electric box? A solid generator. We have the solid generator. You can see that here. That thing has an input slot here. On the right you can see the arrow that points to the left. There you put coal in there. And this thing excretes a lot of heat and pollutant also, and CO2, which is nice, but we don't want heat in our station. We will have enough heat problems as it is. We already have 6 degrees in here, man. Eventually we're gonna have 20. That's fine, right? Then we're gonna have 30. That's a bit warm. Then we're gonna have 40. This will just keep increasing relentlessly from the sun shining in and from devices running. We need to cool this bitch down, man. But you know, I want to place this thing so that we can get some electricity arbitrarily whenever we need it. And so I want to place it out there, which can actually be done like this, but you haven't seen that. And for that I will place some more frames out there. Remember, this is our cable electricity source between all these things that can hold battery storage. And there it is, the fuel generator, the coal, solid fuel generator. I will toss some coal in there. And you can see here the data connection, which we don't need right now, but that's another example of what I said. Power connection, data connection, it has both. If I turn this thing on now, it will start burning the coal. Let's just demonstrate that for a moment. You can see the battery, 69%, 70%. 71%, even though the solar panels are not currently producing anything. Instead, though, the solid burner is excreting CO2 and pollutant at 200 degrees. You don't want that in your station, man. So let's turn that off again. So back inside we now find things a bit unnecessarily cluttered. Let's remove this entire crate. And this one. And this one. Because there's not so much left in them. Instead, look at the survival supplies and find the residential supplies package. Right mouse button, or how does this work? Can I just click here like this? Well, I guess the screen is a bit too occupied. The interface isn't the best. Unpack. Instead, I could have just used the right mouse button. Same effect. So then it will unpack all the things that are in there. Eggs. If I toss them down in the right circumstances, I will actually get chickens. First I get chicks and then they will grow up. Tables, they are a bit weird. You can replace them down, you power them, then you place, for example, the microwave on them, then you use the wrench on the microwave, which will connect the microwave lasting to the table. You switch the table on, you switch the microwave on, then you can put something in the microwave and bake it. That was a lot, huh? Okay. So and here we have lockers, and that's something I want to use now. I don't know where exactly though. And one should always remember, open the helmet when indoors. So right mouse button for the build ghost, we can see here, maybe you can see it, these little cells there, that is on the back side. And on the front we have these two double doors. There's also other variants, but the one with the most potential content is this one. And you can deconstruct them with the drill. You have seen we have two of them here. Depending on which type you're building, you will actually consume both of them. And now let's clean up a bit. Okay, place carefully with T. It's not important, it's just makes it easier. And wrench it up. Now it's connected. And these you don't want to light indoors because they heat things up. Let me demonstrate these. Close the helmet.
Low pressure. Oxygen low.
Yep. Nice light source too. That's the gas sensor, isn't it? Yep. Oh, I'm power critical. Well, maybe I want to swap my battery. Yeah, if possible, you should turn this dude off because 50 watts is quite a lot. The door uses 10 watts each. This one uses 50 watts. Now it's off, it's consuming nothing. And the battery here is slowly being charged by the solar panel a bit. Not much, because the sun is already no longer in the ideal location. I think I will actually use the container mount. That's one of the things that was in the residential package. And so I take one of the containers and wrench it up. And now it can no longer float around. Also here we have the arc furnace. What is that good for? Well, you toss in some iron ore on the one side, on the other side you get an iron ingot. So for the easy ores, what, there are different ones? Yes, of course, this is Stationeers. Let's look at the ingots. If you find some silver or nickel or iron, you can just toss that into this simple furnace. But if you want steel, you need to combine iron and coal in the right mixture, under the right pressure circumstances, and with the right temperature circumstances, and then you get steel. For that, you need the furnace, not the arc furnace. And these ones, the super alloys, are even more complex than that, and they need the advanced furnace. I will just prepare the connection of the arc furnace with my station's power supply, which is this. This can actually be burned. Now it's smelting silicon. And once again we're getting waste gases. Temperature is fine, interesting enough. Some nitrogen, some pollutant, and some CO2. And we could have known that. Silicon. Because the ore, you can see down here, has these gases. Yep. And there's our silicon. But what do we use that for? Well, let's enjoy our nice airlock once more. Something we haven't yet looked at, the AUTOLATHE. That is our 3D printer. And this 3D printer is, like in Astroneer, the foundation to print other 3D printers. They are not bigger though, but they are just different. Let's build the AUTOLATHE right away. The construction is relatively complex, but it's something you don't have to do very often. And so it makes sense, particularly since these devices give you a lot in return, so... There, now we need to cable it up. See, that wasn't much, once you know what you're doing. Where is it? Here we go. It also has a logic connection, like so many, a data connection, like so many devices, but beginners will not need this. So, by tossing the silicon in, now we could print, actually, some glass. I turned this thing on. We can also do this, which only works, has effect while this thing is on. This tosses out the resources again. You can start printing. It's currently set to coffee mug. But here we can select other things. And later you can mod the furnace, the manufactory, to also be able to produce other things. There are only two mod stages, the current one and the one I was just talking about. So you can, for example, make plastic sheets. Now we have 5.5 silicon left in there. If I do this now, you will see, oh my god, it's only 5. Yes, we just lost material. So that's the only way, the only possible way to actually waste materials with this thing. Because if, for example, a production process is interrupted or something, you will not lose anything. So that's very nice. Glass, very expensive. See, now we printed something. Isn't that cool? What we need to print is some other printers. We need the AUTOLATHE we already have. We need the electronics printer, for example, for batteries. Later we want to make the station battery, for example, once we have steel, because that thing can store a lot of electricity, and also it can take a lot of electricity in. So once we have used the electronic printer then to make heavy cables, which have a throughput maximum of 100 kilowatts, we can pump the full 20 kilowatts that are coming out of our coal burner, which are currently harmless since they're not actually being consumed, through those thick cables directly into our station battery, and then we can live a long time from just one stack of coal. So then we also need the hydraulic pipe bender, which, for example, can make pipes, hence the name. But it can also make filters, and eventually we will run out of filters, so we will need new carbon dioxide filters, for example. You can also make atmospherics devices, a filtration unit to filter, for example, if I want to use the room's air, which has, for example, oxygen, which I got there by tossing down some oxide. What if I want to use the oxygen, only the oxygen from the room's air, to fill that into a canister, which I then take with me on my excursions as my gas canister? Of course, I could use just the room's air as it is, but as you already know, this would mean that we would have then in our spacesuit, in our volume that we're standing in ourselves with our body, not just oxygen, but also nitrogen and CO2. Now for CO2, we already have these filters. For nitrogen, we would also need a filter, because else they would accumulate and we would begin to suffocate if you don't want to flush every few minutes. You know, I explained that earlier. And you can see here also we have some pollutant. So with a filtration unit, we could just pump out from the room's air only the oxygen and pump that into a canister. See, we can put down pipes, we can put down a canister holder, we can plop that canister in. The canister holder even has a data connection. We can put down a computer and a microchip, and we can then program that thing and say, hey, as soon as there's a canister in there, fill that with pure oxygen to the brim but not further, and then stop. All of that can be done. And this automation isn't just a straightforward simple stuff with three or four different options, but you're really free to do anything you want within the given possibilities here. So that is very exciting, I think. Now I want to do some mining. Here in our... Oh, the box can actually also be collapsed. In this crate... there. Okay, stacked. In this crate we also have the tracking beacon. Okay, good thing we have a tablet that has multiple possible cartridges. For example, next to the Atmos analyzer, it also has the network analyzer, which tells us here that we have the area power controller, battery charger, area power controller, solar panel and generator. That makes sense network-wise, okay. And here we have area power controller, of course, on the left, and the arc furnace and the autolathe and so forth. So that's what we have, but we also have the tracker. When we use the mouse wheel, we can point at other people. I can point at myself, for example. My distance is 0, hahaha. But if there would be more people here, then I could actually point at them. So if you have multiple people on the server, you don't necessarily need a tracking beacon, you just need someone at home. So now I cannot get lost, because getting lost is really a thing in Stationeers that can happen to you and must not happen to you. Because then you can basically start over. Without the station, without your resources, you're dead in the water. Oh, what's that? Mining supplies? Let's see what's in there. Supplies. Okay, so here we have a flare gun, which shoots these things that we already know. I don't want to do that in here now. I will take that with me just for entertainment purposes. And then we have something even more entertaining. This thing is now on a countdown and will destroy my station. I don't want this, so I pick it up, or I could have clicked in here. These things are really safe because, you know, there are so many ways to turn them off. I can also hold them in my hand and walk around and press the right mouse button, which has tossed that and turned it on behind me. Now it's turned off again. Oh, and the mining belt, which we already have. This one is empty, so we can take some more ores with us. Let's go mining. But I wanted to take another battery. Do we have another battery? Well, I could just use this one from the labeler. Did I just lose the tablet in the station? Don't tell me. No, it was just in the mining belt and I had the mining belt closed. Oh, by the way, if we would go back now to our station, we would find, oh, the airlock has no power, how do we get in and so forth. I explained that horror story earlier, so... Yep.
Power critical.
See, you can just swap that and then get back in. Here we have nickel. We don't need that right now. Later, definitely. Iron is needed a ton. So when you find iron and you don't have some immediate other plans, get some iron. It's never wrong. Now instead of mining this all manually, we could find something that is mineable and then use a mining charge. Let's do that next. We only have 6 of these, but we can make more. Not currently, but why should we waste the nice beginner speed-up opportunity that this gives? There's coal. We will need coal to make steel. So... don't mind if I do. And then we put that away, and the drill here. And also, we move out of the way. We can just click with the mining drill, which will put that immediately into the mining belt there. That's very nice. Copper is also needed a ton. I mean, what did you expect? There's no air here, so there's no way to transmit the sound. Oh, do you see that? Where the pointer is, the crosshair? Glintering in the sun when we move sideways, that suggests it's either silver or gold. These are the two materials, the two ores that have the glinter to them. I think that is gold. Yep, it is. Interesting. What will happen if I use a mining charge? I mean, the sun is up and there's this stuff. I guess that is actually melting. Another mining charge, please. It's just too much fun. Boom. Okay, that was less than I hoped, but still much faster than doing it by hand. So we have copper. I would like more iron, please. There we go. Nice. So, but some more iron would be advisable. This what we just put in there is a full batch of steel. I mean, you can look up in the Stationpedia what you need to make steel. Steel is important. We want to make the station battery. Where is it? Ingots. Steel. You need, scroll, you need 0.75 iron and 0.25 hydrocarbon. Now if your math isn't too rusty, you realize this means 1 unit and 3 units. Like of the whole that you will supply for the mixture, 3/4 should be iron, 1/4 should be hydrocarbon. So for example, you could say, let's just have 3 full stacks of iron and 1 full stack of coal. Yep, that will get the trick done. So the last one I will do by hand, is what she said. So let's go here.
Power low.
Kaboom. Oh, that was stupid. Alrighty. Okay, enough harvesting for now. Let's see where home is. 166 meters that away. I'm so full I couldn't even... Oh, maybe I should have used this for fun, huh? It's just a flare, slowly descending towards the ground. White flare, not the red one, but otherwise just a flare. Which direction was the station? Can you tell? Can we even see that from here? I think we can see it, yeah. Yeah, well, they recently increased the maximum render settings that you can set. That's actually like 3 days ago or 2 days ago. Before that, since December 2023, we were all like, oh, where's the station? They wouldn't be visible from this distance even, I believe. But now I can see it from afar. Now that is a game changer, and you get to play it. Now buy the game already, okay? Do yourself the favor. You have seen nothing yet. This is still the prelude to gameplay in a way. So now that we have this, the sun was up for a day. The airlock is no longer empty. Instead we have 56%. Let's smelt some stuff. I will definitely need some iron smelted. Blip. It even goes relatively fast because iron, yeah, you can see here, very quick. And now we have a problem. Because, wait, let's swap that. In here you can see we have pollutant. Where's that coming from? Well, from the furnace. Oh, no problem, we have an airlock. Oh, wait. What does the airlock do again?
Hydration critical.
The airlock does not pump the gas from here to out there. It only pumps the gas from in here to in there when we're going outside. So in other words, what's happening is we will definitely unleash some of the pollutant into the station. And why is this taking so long now? The pipe network here is for whatever reason empty. The reason would probably be that it fills this room to 100 kilopascals, and then it opens the door and empties. In here we have a much less of a pressure, 60 kilopascals. And then later we leave the airlock again in that direction, so about 60 kilopascals will be pumped back in there. And then when we cycle inwards again, it will fill this box with 100 kilopascals from this pipe and so forth. So the pipe will basically be breathed empty in this way. And now I've talked so much that I have to go outside again to smelt the next stuff. But this is an engineering challenge. It can be done better, yes. I mean, with this many hours, I have made my fair share of proper airlocks. And one way to do this, for example, is to use the advanced airlock chip that we cannot yet print, because for that we need the electronics printer. Let's make one. But I think we can't make that yet, because it requires, you can see that here, iron, we have that in there, gold and copper. Copper is currently being smelted, gold not yet. This thing also consumes, I don't know, 50 watts, 100 watts or whatever, so turn it off. Oh, and this, even though I was mining quite some more, but while the video was on pause, almost no battery has been consumed. So even the small battery will last you for a long time. But let's finally turn on the battery charger. And that's not helpful at all, I realize, because there's no power coming in. We have to use the coal burner right now to do this. That's the way it is cabled now. I mean, if you want different effects, cable it differently. It's just the priorities you have to set. Oh, and it's stupid that we always have to go out there here to this thing to change its content, right? Well, you can make a chute systems. Little chutes that you place here, a box here, then around the corner, another box and so forth, with a chute outlet indoors, so that whatever comes out here will be tossed right in your station. And you can even go the opposite direction too. You can make a chute system here also, so that you can toss the raw ore from here in there, and then it will come back in there. The problem though is, you have to click here to turn that thing on. So you would have to control that with data connection. That's possible, but I'm not going to go into that in this video. This is basically was supposed to be an intro of how do you play this game at all, and now we are already on to the journey of making the station battery. I still want to do that, I believe, but then that has been enough. And if you want more information, I have plenty of other tutorials up that will suffice. For example, one that is indeed almost 8 hours long and ends with a station with with plants growing, with water to drink and station battery and all of that, and very thoroughly explained, way more thoroughly than this video already. Smelt the gold. So we see here 41 grams, even though it was 42. And now it will say 40 grams. I will click again. Now we have 2 grams done. Okay, I continue with the rest. And so I can make now the electronics printer. This takes a while and it will consume a lot of electricity. And so you should make sure that enough power is here. There's definitely enough. And if you don't want this thing to print like 100 electronic printers, if there would be so many resources in here, you can see the resources down here, then you should just select a different recipe. This means that after this one, it will stop printing. And there it is, the electronics printer. Should we make the AUTOLATHE, the pipe bender already? Bender. Oh, we don't have the gold for that. Oh, well, then not. Let's make the furnace to make steel. Or does it also need gold? It doesn't. They're very good. It's built in exactly the same way.
Temperature high. Temperature high.
Well, your normal appreciable temperature is from 0 degrees to 50 degrees. Anything exceeding that, not good. By the way, the electronics printer can be used to make cables, but the simple cables and even the simple lights can also just be made with the AUTOLATHE. So it prints that much slower, but it's once you have the AUTOLATHE, you can, and you have that from the beginning. For example, by the way, if you have the AUTOLATHE and the arc furnace and some small resources, then they can start a station. But you have to do some mining and so forth. But if you do not have the arc furnace and or the AUTOLATHE, then that's the end. You can't get anywhere. These are hard limits. Ah, the gold is done. Nice. What shall we do next? Some more copper or some silicon? I don't know. So let's put up the furnace then.
Power critical.
What? Oh my god, I made an arc furnace again? Oh, that was stupid. There. Furnace. That needs more iron that I don't have. That I, guess what, wasted on the other arc furnace. Yeah. So, smelting some more iron. Oh look, I'm dragging this onto this and that stacks it to a 50 stack. And the rest is here. Furnace, please. So I'm also gonna charge the battery of the mining drill. Now that the sun is coming back, it should be charging all 3 of the batteries. I have to take care a bit that this one doesn't discharge too deeply since it's still producing the furnace. Listen. What's happening here is the arc furnace is currently smelting some copper, which means that from time to time it will need higher energy when the next bit of the stack is being used. And in this moment it pulls more energy, or it pulls energy in the first place. No, it pulls energy all the time. Then it pulls more energy. And the power that's coming in here is spread out between these 3 consumers. So sometimes this guy will not get enough power so that the battery actually charges up. and in the moment of discharge, it will have this low tweety sound. This sound means that I'm currently taking damage here. I'm suffering the absence of water. This will be decaying further and further. Good thing we have tons of water. Oh, I don't have any battery. Oh. I guess I should utilize our nice coal burner a bit, huh? Not much, I guess. Just... Is it burning? No, it's not. I will just leave that thing on. Why not? It doesn't consume anything other than the coal, but there's not so much coal that it can consume. Mining drill. And let's drink some. The bottle bag. Hey, you can refill these. There's a bottle filler that you can produce. Yeah, what are we at? Let's eat one of those. But you don't have to produce it. Because I believe we have one. Right here. Yep, there it is. In the hydroponics crate we also have the water bottle filler. Because that's thematically so close. Because you will be placing down the hydroponics trays and between them or connected to them some liquid pipes, and then we will use the pipe utility liquid. That's no, not the tank. This thing, which can hold a water canister, and a water canister should be in here too, I think. Yeah, it's here. And I just took it out of the packaging, so now it's no longer insulated. So far it was, but now it falls prey to the environment, which is currently at 31 degrees, by the way. So it's getting hotter. And so then this could fill its water, although the thing was empty, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. Fill its water into the pipe network. I actually have to check the pressure. We have 12 liters in there. Okay, this could get a bit hairy, because if this thing gets warmer, it might actually explode. Yeah, let's leave that thing there. I want to see what happens. And then you can, when it's empty-ish, then you can dunk it in here, just like with the oxygen tank here, in the liquid canister slot, put it back into this pipe utility thing, and so the plants will have more water, and you can connect the pipes to the water bottle filler, which also needs some power, so that you can refill your bottles. You can also make a drinking fountain, though I don't know what the resources necessary are. So here we have now the furnace. Didn't I want to make the... A bit confused here. Didn't I start another printing process? Bender. Really? I don't have any iron for that? What's happening, man? So let's place the furnace, the big rumbly beast. I will rotate it in a rather useful way, and that will mean the pipes go to the side, and the opening... Wait, that's wrong. It's a bit tricky to rotate that correctly. This would also work, whether the pipes go to the right or to the left, I don't care too much. But yeah, that's what I want. So it would plop out whatever it has done towards the station. It's really tricky to place. Yeah. And then we have the controls here. Okay, let's complete this thing. I believe what we need is this. And this. And that's it. That's the furnace. Here we can toss out whatever it is currently has in its melty form. Here you can see the pressure and temperature and so forth, and if that's too high, well, build a new station. This is how we can spark that thing. We can't hear that because there's no atmosphere here. This is where we toss in, for example, fuel ices. We can also just put some fuel in here and then ignite it with this button, but what we really need in there is just heat, so we can just pump in gas that is very hot and would otherwise not be used in the process. And output, very important, that's the thing that we do need to pipe up, so we are able to evacuate the furnace. And here this output 2 for liquid, I've never used it in 1500 hours, so it's not necessary, but it can be utilized. What I would like to do is I would like to produce some steel. And when I say some, I'm looking at these 2 full stacks that I would want to make right away, which is overkill, and I don't care. So, man, I still had some iron on me. Start with the bender, please.
Temperature high. Temperature high.
Okay, now that we have the pipe bender, we can make
Power critical.
power. We can make pipes. And we can make a valve. And that is what I need. I need a pipe cowl. That thing is the end point of a pipe. Now I need some iron. I don't have any iron reserves, so I will just spit everything out that's in here. Iron is always last. And then we need a valve also. Valve here. Which we need some copper. We have copper. And then we need some pipes. Why? Because I want to make the furnace ready for action. And then so that we can actually do something with it, we need something else. We need volatiles. This thing will now be out of commission for a while. That is the output pipe, right? Okay, so I will make a nice upwards pipe here. Then I will use the kit valve. You can see it's just a simple valve that you can turn on and off. It goes in both directions, doesn't really matter. Then we have the explicitly one direction gas valve. Then we have the condensation valve, because there are 2 kinds of pipes in here. I remember there's phase change, so gases can become liquids, and gas pipes hate liquids. They can tolerate a bit of it, but not much, and so there are also liquid pipes. They cannot take much pressure overall, but you can toss anything in there as long as it's not frozen. So you can, for example, 100% liquid, you know. And so you can have here on the one side, you can see the arrow at the bottom, which is for a gas pipe, and at the top we see the arrow for a liquid pipe. So if there's any condensation happening in a gas pipe, this valve would make sure that it goes over to the liquid section, as long as the valve is turned on. And here we have the opposite of that, is the expansion valve. If liquid would expand so that it would evaporate to gas, then it would go through here and would end up on the other side in the gas pipe. Yep. So let's put that valve here. I will put it like this, so the handle points upwards, because it's the direction in which I expect the gas to go, just for engineering clarity purposes. Where's the cowl? There it is. So that thing is now ready. Now we need some volatiles so we can get this thing going. So let's go mining again for a moment. Oh, right at our doorstep. I mean, that's where the station is, and that's where the pink stuff is. Volatiles. That's what I need for my furnace activity. Maybe you remember in the beginning of the video I looked at my welder tank, and that was 1/3 of the gas mixture was oxygen and 2/3 were volatiles. So what I'm getting right here is basically for the 2/3. That's the gas that burns fine, nicely, you know. If you have, let's say you have a 1-to-1 mixture of oxygen and volatiles, then it still burns fine. Only in the end you will have some oxygen left, which was just not used in the process. That which made sense was used up, the rest will just be left. Makes sense, it's simple. Oh look, water. Yes, we can actually mine water here, but it's not pure. Let's see, water. Num 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 num. There it is, pure ice water. Yeah, that is when your ice in the air actually freezes, then it's of course pure. But that what we find on the planet here, on the moon, is contains some nitrogen. It's not a problem, it's just something to keep in mind. And when we look at volatile, then we see it has only volatiles, 22 moles. Now let's look at oxide. It has 23 moles oxygen, but 3 moles nitrogen. So that is not pure. But if you just toss two volatile ices and 1 oxide ice into the furnace, you will have a proper mixture for fuel burning processes. That's a way to do it. Yeah, some more oxide, please, because I don't quite have enough. So let me show you how furnacing works, though you will not take much from it. Okay, one thing is you should be careful. And the other thing is, during the night it's easy to do because then it doesn't melt in your hand. During the day you need to use a trick. You need to occupy your hands so that when you then split here from these stacks, something it will toss, it will fall into the world, basically in front of you. And so that's what happened. It will now, the furnace will now try to melt whatever was put in there, but there is no heat in there, nothing. So it uses this. This will spark it a bit. Then I will do the same again with oxide, same problem. Now though, we have a burning process going on in there. You can see 700 kilopascals, 800, you know, and already over 1,000 degrees Celsius. That is how much that produces. Now we'll also toss some more volatiles in there. You see they melted automatically. But if we now toss in our steel material, you will see that the pressure, of course, increases because there's lots of gas in there, in the ore that we find. You can also see that the temperature has fallen because of all the stuff that we put in there. I mean, the heat is now spread out among all that material. That's how you have to look at that. And this button is green currently because we would get some meaningful mixture out of that. It would be a 150 gram ingot of iron. But we don't want iron, we want steel. See, now it's red, because now what we would get out is nothing meaningful. However, and now we have a temperature of 700 Kelvin. We need 800 Kelvin for this steel. I mean, over time you will just sleepwalk this. See, steel, for example, is very simple. Here, look, the temperature, 900 Kelvin. Okay, we currently have 700-ish Kelvin, so we need to put some more fuel in there to burn it hotter. Up to 100 kilokelvin. This is basically a placeholder for the following words. Infinite. See? So if you see that value here, you know, okay, at least that temperature, the rest doesn't matter. Then for pressure, the same. 100 megapascals, that means doesn't matter. So 1 megapascal and 900 Kelvin. We certainly have enough megapascals in there, but not enough kelvins. So let's put some more kelvins in there. And now in a few seconds, it's green. Because now if you flip the lever, whoops, there's our steel. It flew through the window, let's forgive that. And we'll close this now because I don't want anything that I toss in there right now to come out again instantly. You can see the pressure keeps increasing. It's still fine. Even when it's up here, it's still fine, but you need to keep an eye out. And you should definitely not put a full stack in there because you will regret that with certainty, except if an explosion was your goal. Because then you have achieved what you wanted. Why should you regret that? It's falling, it's falling, it's falling, but it's enough still. And you must be careful not to put anything into this mixture that shouldn't be in there. For example, I shouldn't put the silicon in there, because then if I flip this, out comes only a brown ball. But the same would happen if I wouldn't have the right temperature. That, though, would be okay. You just take those brown balls, stuff them in again, see that you get the right pressure and temperature, and then they will transform into the ingot. That works, yep. Now let's do something here, something interesting. See how fast that is? I mean, if you compare that with the arc furnace, and the arc furnace consumes so much electricity. So whenever you're doing some burning, maybe you also want to do your mass smelting right away with it. And now we have this here, and we can let this sit. This will slowly cool down. Currently we are at 600 degrees Celsius, and it will eventually descend up to 0 degrees and even colder, because the vacuum, well, will allow the pipes to radiate themselves down to 0 Kelvin. So this means that by phase change, eventually some of these gases in here will become liquid, which the pipe will complain about, but maybe it won't be too bad. Depends, the stress will go up. And eventually they will even freeze, and no pipe survives that, which means that we might want to vent this. Or we just replace the pipe later. I mean, the pipe is cheap. I'm just pointing out the possibilities. Now that we have the coal, what we would like to do is to make the station battery. Oh, look, there's liquid in the pipe. Yeah, the pollutant under high pressure becomes liquid. Pollutant has a very special phase change diagram. Okay, that's the electronics printer. What do we need for the station battery? Kit battery, that's the one. We need gold, we need copper, we need steel. 20 gold, 20 copper, 20 steel. Gold we have, copper we have, and steel we also have. 200 grams, and again 200 grams. We are rich now in steel. So let's make that station battery. And this steel I'll just put in here. By the way, if you need a stacker, if you need a stack of, if you need an ingot that is smaller, you can make a stacker. And now I need iron that I don't have. I blew through all my iron during the smelt. Yeah. Anyway, then you can just put up a stacker. That is a device that has an input and output slot. You can use the wheel to set the stack size, or you can use this labeler thing that you point at the wheel, and so you don't point it at the device to rename it, but off the device you point it at the wheel that is on the device, and then you can set the value with this quickly, instead of clicking a trillion times. And so then you can toss in a 200 stack of steel, for example, and out come like whatever you set there, 20 stacks of whatever you wanted. And you can interrupt the process also, so you don't get so many ingots, but only the one small one, and then the big stuff will remain in there. And then you can flip the lever manually to get all the rest, so it's whatever you want. Yeah, let's a few words on hydroponics, because I want to end this video now. Wrench. So how is our tank doing? Our canister, 21 degrees, the pressure is still 1.5 megapascals, and what we just experienced was a battery running dry. Happens to the best. That's the station battery. Now we need to print some heavy cables, else the coal burner will not do us much service. Heavy cable. Right, where was I? Let's put that here. It instantly, there's no more water in there. And then we have the water bottle filler, which has two build types, this one and the other one. The difference is really just cosmetic. You can see the little numbers in there, 1 and 2. And now they are upright. That's what I wanted. So let's take the water bottle. And the other one too. And you can actually connect a stacker with a chute to this thing, and then it will stack everything up instead of tossing out little things every time. Also something you can do. So many things you can do here. So, the station battery, where will we put that? I think I will put that on the outside right here, in front of this part. This part here I will replace... No, Wait, what am I doing? I think I have enough heavy cables now. Now let's interrupt the process, not now, but now. You see that now the resources we have left are not .5, so in case you would ever toss that out, you would not lose anything. So we have 14 of these. Right, we need steel sheets, I remember. 2, I believe. Here. The energy that's coming in is not strong enough to counteract the base power usage of this thing. That's why we have the low tweety sound right now. But if I turn this thing off, then it's fine again. So let's remove this guy from the premises. And where's the station battery? Here it is. Let's build it. You can see here it has on the right side 2 connectors, on the left side it has 1. You can see the arrow that tells you what it means. So we want to turn that bitch around. Output. Then we need to weld this, I think. And then we need the screwdriver. And that's the station battery. It's turned on. So if electricity would be coming in now, which it doesn't yet. Yeah, the sun being occluded, eclipse-wise, is still implemented badly. That will of course eventually change, and then the shadow will either be there or not be there. We can even expect possibly some kind of halo effect around Earth, because that's what we would normally see. There's some atmosphere, and so there would be some effects like that. And you know, but for an early access game, I mean, what you might not know, right? Maybe I said it or maybe I didn't. I'm playing the beta version here. So not only is the early access version of this game super stable, but so is even the beta version. So every day, almost every day, we get a new build. Where's the heavy car? Oh, there it is. And I've been playing that for half a year. So sometimes something's fucked. So, for example, yesterday and about 2 months ago, something was really not working right. One would be crashing or wouldn't load your game or whatever. But otherwise it's just fine. It works, and it works. So I'll split this in half, toss it in, turn it on, and shazam. Station battery is charging. And remember, we only put in 15 coal. Let's see how far that gets us. I will not watch this, because we have more things to do on the inside. And now all these batteries will happily charge, because they are all hanging from that big body here. Already stable. Okay, now this guy needs electricity. How do we get the power to the ceiling? I have no good ideas here, but the brute force ones. And we could also use some light, could we? Yeah, so we want some lights here, so let's do that then. Not the best, not the wisest way to do it, but I can still change this later. So, could you refill my bottles, please? Alrighty. So, this thing is now burned empty, so the 15 coal have been used up. This is how full our station battery is, but remember, these two batteries are also being charged, so now we have reached a new age. Now we have finally some power here. Enough power actually for me to choose to make some lights. And immediately things will feel much different in here. If we find the iron to do so. Do I really have no iron? Well, I don't want to do this now, so let's cheat a bit. I mean, you see that we're in the clear. Difficulty creative. Now we'll use the hotkey, which is the hotkey for the menu. That's something you should not do when you do your survival playthrough, you know? Because you want to believe in the simulation. So, show the dynamic panel. I will use this key. And, okay. So, this opens the menu. Now I will enter iron, scroll a bit, and then we find the iron ingot. Then I press F9 and it is spawned. Now I have a 500 ingot. This is the largest possible ingot size of this stuff. And then we return to difficulty easy. Is that all? Alright, I said it shall be all. I want more. There are various lights here. There's even a wall light battery which would charge the battery. It's basically the light pendant, light counterpart to the area power controller. So it would charge the battery and the battery would fuel the light. The diode slide can show a progress bar, so you could, for example, show how full your station batteries are. Now this one is already showing one, but what if you have 20 and they have multiple different fittings? This could then be easily a summary statement, and it takes like 3 lines of code, really, not more, to make that happen. This is my favorite one, and then we also have the LED, which can be programmed to have a different color. But you can also use spray paint to colorize these lights. Nice. Now that feels better, doesn't it? And I mean, this flashlight eats so much power, right? I mean, this one also eats 50 watts, but that's not power that you have to carry around with you. And the mood change is intense, isn't it? Let's put one over here also, nicely symmetrical. Some cables. Don't have too many cables left, let's make some. Now we must remember that our only source of power so far is the solar panel, if you're not burning through coal. Of course, if you burn coal, we have infinitely much power, but we need to obtain the coal. So maybe we want to print some more solar panels and put them up there or somewhere else, or print the more sophisticated solar panel and program them to point at the sun, and so forth and so forth and so forth. But let's deal with some more primary problems. Here we have 39 degrees Celsius. And here we have a portable air conditioner package. What's in there? For example, the portable air conditioner. A battery and the largest suppository I've ever seen. Battery empty, right. Here we have liquid nitrogen, which is currently being heated up from the room, 1.2 megapascals, and that is basically the thing that we can use here to cool the room. Let's see which set hot, set cold. You have just seen a bug. This thing was not blue in the beginning. I think I told them already, but you know, they don't catch everything. And now we can see that the temperature in the room is decreasing. This is of course not the one way to do it. There are so many ways to do it. For example, what you could do is you could evaporate some liquids. That would cool things down, because that's what happens. It's also simulated here. If you condense liquid gases so that they become liquids again, that heats them up. Not the condensing itself, but the condensation, the phase change itself. The game does not simulate that things get hotter when you press them together. That's not simulated. So you could also just pump some station air through pipes on the outside. Like I said, the radiation will cool those pipes down. And if you want that more radical, then you can use some pipe radiators. These are for gas pipes. And here's the kit. This is for when you have atmosphere around. This will be much more powerful then. And these are for when you want to only use radiation cooling, which makes sense here when we have a vacuum out there. So out there would be pipes with those radiators. You pump your station air through those pipes and it will cool them down, cool the air down a lot. And then eventually you need to consider removing that gas from the pipes entirely, evacuate them, because the gas will keep cooling down to 0 Kelvin. Yep, so you have to keep that in balance. Oh, and what about the pollutant? I mean, we have some pollutant in the air, right? Well, we have something else here, the portable scrubber package. Let's unpack this then. It's getting a bit crowded in here, huh? Yeah, when you expand your station on the outside, don't forget that when you open the window between these two sections, the pressure in here will decrease. Or when you're on a different planet where there's atmosphere, evacuate that new part first, else you will have a mixture of atmospheres that you don't want. So here we have filters. Volatiles filter I don't quite need here, but let's just stuff it in. And that. And blop, and turn on, and immediately the pollutant decreases. Okay, now what we want is we want to plant something. Let's see what the water in here is. We have 9 liters of water. That's already enough for 1,000 plants. Really, the plants consume basically no water. So what do we want to plant? Well, normally we would probably pick potatoes, and we would plant 1 potato plant. But I would plant all 3 of them. Oh, nice sound. They changed that. You can see here it's thriving towards fruiting. Now let's print something that will every beginner should have. Analyzer, the cartridge plant analyzer for your tablets. Now let's look at this. We can see the growth efficiency is 99% efficiency. That is also the statement that we're reading, thriving towards fruiting. There are different sentences like barely growing towards fruiting, stuff like that. That's basically the roughly rounded version of this growth efficiency thing. Then we have the breathing efficiency, which refers to the gases available. And to the pressure, I believe. No, to the gas available. And we have the temperature efficiency. And now we get into the details. Min ideal is 20, max ideal is 30, current temperature is 22, which means maybe we want to turn off the dude here. So then we get to the details of the pressure. Pressure efficiency is 100%. Minimum is 51, maximum is 99, and if the pressure would be outside of that, that would still be okay. It would just not be ideal, you know. And the further out it goes, the worse it would get, of course. And then we have the light efficiency, and this is the problem that is the part where most beginners, really most, like 99% of beginners fail. So listen up. So the plants not only need light. They also need darkness. Let's look at the potato plant. Here we can see all the parameters, la 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 la. Seems complicated, is complicated, but not that complicated. They even have genes. You can do gene splicing. You can plant plants that have better genes, and the other ones you toss out or whatever. So here we can see a light per day, 5 minutes. A day for a plant is 20 minutes. Even if I change the world time scale with my hacky commands there, which are not official basically, then the plants will still be on a 20-minute day, which is probably also one of the reasons that the developers have not yet implemented a way to easily change the duration of day with the slider for your playthrough, because that would also have to affect the plants. But you know, how would that exactly work? Anyway, so let's assume a 20-minute day. During this 20-minute day, the plants must have minimum 5 minutes of light and a minimum of 3 minutes of darkness. Here on the moon, we have both. Now, if you somehow get more than 5 minutes of light, then the plants will grow more during that time, is what I heard. I haven't verified this, but I think so. More darkness doesn't help, but this minimum of 3 minutes and 20 seconds must be. Else, what happens is that you will get illumination stress. Currently the light intensity is 97%, that's the sun out there. I could put a grow light up, then the light intensity would probably go up to 180-ish degrees. And that's not too much, that is still fine, the plant would even grow faster, I believe. So here we have light deficiency and dark deficiency. If there would be too little light, okay, you get the picture. Now if any of these would be wrong, then this would cause illumination stress to build. Illumination stress refers to darkness deficiency and to light deficiency. So this would build up and build up and build up, and this would then decrease the growth efficiency the more light illumination stress you have. If there's no more reason for the illumination stress to build, then it will still be there, but it will slowly descend, slowly decrease again. And if your plant during that time dies, well, that's pech, that's bad luck then. Anyway, so if you turn the grow light on and off, or if the sun comes up, then that is a change in light situation. This also causes illumination stress, but only very little. So what else do we have? That was light, pressure, hydration efficiency is enough. Then we have carbon dioxide, required 1%, present 2. Oh, I didn't even think about that, man. We have tons of carbon dioxide in our furnace still, and we could pump that into this room here if we use a filtration unit. You know, there's the Atmos printer, then we use the atmospherics device here, and we press the right mouse button, and we have 4 or 5 different variants, and one of them is the filtration unit, which looks kind of similar to this thing, at least function-wise, because you have 2 filter slots, and you have the pipe that goes in, and you have 2 pipes that go out. One pipe gets whatever the filters have extracted. The other pipe gets whatever was not extracted by the filters. I think we can turn this off now. Yeah, and then you can pump pure CO2 into the room from the furnace. Problem is that will probably still be very hot. So all of those are engineering challenges that you're faced with. You could basically, for example, just wait until the furnace has cooled down enough naturally. And what you could also do, I will now open my spacesuit, because here this is already a lot of waste gas once more. Where is it? Oxide? No. Volatiles? Coal? No. Canister. Now, behold the carbon dioxide display. Now we have more in our tiny base room from my breathing. Yep. And the plants will, of course, consume that very slowly. And this is not the plants consuming that. This is the stuff still spreading out in the room. And pollutant maximum 1 kilopascal. See, here this is measured in percent, this is measured in kilopascal, and so forth. I don't know why those choices were made. I never really pondered that. But I bet that if you think about it, it makes sense. Okay, now we have plants here. They are thriving towards fruiting. Eventually you will get 1 or 2 potatoes. I think we will get 2, because on the moon it's really easy to get that. And then you can harvest 1 potato, or even 2. If you harvest 2, the plant is gone, and you have to plant it anew with a seed or with a potato. So I planted 1 seed, I will get 2 potatoes, 1 I would have to replant, and 1 I get in hand and can eat. But if you don't harvest both potatoes, or don't even harvest 1, the plant will exist still, and so it can continue. It will grow towards seeding. This will also be written there, is thriving towards seeding. And once it has seeded, then it will be stagnant. And then you can harvest seeds, and then you can afterwards harvest the 2 potatoes still. So then you get from 1 seed that you planted here, one potato, another potato, and one seed. You can replant the seed and you can eat the 2 potatoes, for example. Yeah, that's what it is. You have to make sure that the temperature is alright, but we have an okay temperature, and I alluded to some ways to cool it down. Another way basically would be to just toss this down. Because if you look down here, 25 degrees, 24 degrees, there's one way to do it. Now you might say, well, I can't do that indefinitely. Eventually the station pressure will be too high. That is true, but there are ways around that. Not only can you use different ways of cooling this, but also you could use... Didn't we have a passive vent that we didn't need? Somewhere? Oh, I have that on me. Because the passive vent is not just this one thing with a pipe output. It has a second build. This. See, that opens the wall and then the gas streams outwards. So if you have too much pressure and you want to keep cheaply cooling down your station, I mean, like in a simple, stupid way, but a way that keeps you afloat, by tossing down oxide to prevent overpressurization, you can just use this vent. Yep. So now we have some plants that will soon give us something to eat, and when you have the potato, you should put that in here. Oh, I haven't yet cabled that up, but you get the picture. One potato only, Vasily, and then you can eat that. We have the drinking stuff here, we have the station battery, we have the manufactories, so we have achieved basic survival, and now you know how to handle the interface, how to handle the devices, how to play the very basics of Stationeers, because that is all this was, the basics. You haven't seen much yet. Good night.